paralyze, and it managed to paralyze 2 of the party before it went down. So that was an interesting fight indeed. So continuing your exploration, you then came to a large building which is not only bigger than the buildings you've seen so far, but also in far better shape. It's that little bit further away from the epicenter of the earthquake, as far as you can tell, and from where the ceiling has collapsed, and has survived considerably better. If I actually interact with the
that's what the space should have been.
stream
I
version of
Roll20.
Roll20. There we go. We knew there was something. I just want to zoom in slightly on the streams version of Roll20.
It's a chimp.
And
I'm going to
pan that a
restart my
little bit.
stream as I'm dropping a lot of frames.
Oh.
so the dead logo to the left is where the carrion crawler is dead. They did actually find some gold there as well, and had an interesting discussion on whether it should be returned to the party or whether it belonged to them. A discussion that was never completely finished.
It was
But more
finished to the
that the
satisfaction
gold
of
was
those who
hidden
were
away
there.
and it was tabled for a later date.
Yes.
Mainly the later date of not telling anyone they thought would say it needed to go back to the company.
Pretty much.
Precisely.
And this is a problem because...
So, and over on the right we have the Hobby Gamers International logo, which is us, which is being used to mark where the party is. But having shown that and given you the story so far, time to move us all over to the other map,
Dun dun dun.
which is going to require me shift pinging to get us all in the right place. That should do the job. Now, this obviously is the more battle map view of where you are. Over to the right, you can see that there is another area that's been removed from the fog of war. That is because I've put the second floor, or the first floor in English, on the same map. So you can see that bit over to the right, because that's so that you can just see the front wall of the building if you look up. So that means that by looking across between the 2 of them, you can see where the doors and windows are on the bottom, and you can also see where the windows are on the top floor.
Okay.
This is still not a huge building, but it's big by the standards of what you've seen so far. It is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 feet. Is that 5, 10, 15? No, 30 feet
20,
rather.
25,
It's 30
30
feet along the bottom section there.
Yeah.
And then a further 20 feet. If you take a 20-foot square and then a 30-foot by 20-foot oblong and you overlap them, you get this building, to all intents and purposes.
Okay. So the second story does overhang us.
No, it doesn't overhang you. You've got like what might be a tower arrangement in another building, but isn't up at the top there.
Okay.
I could actually, because you've scouted enough probably to be able to see it, I could probably chop out, if I use the correct tool, reveal area, this section up here, which unfortunately the stream can't show, but I will shift ping so that I can show you quickly. Oh, come on. You can tell I haven't used Roll20 in a while. I'm forgetting how this all works.
Well, we weren't going to say anything.
So yeah, what you've effectively got is you've got at the top something akin to what on another building might be a tower on the end of a long hall, but is actually the same height as the rest of the building. So it's not a tower, it is just a slightly odd arrangement on the building.
Okay.
What this map doesn't indicate, I should probably put a hidden area in, because that will show it to an extent. Where I've put the fog of war back in there, that is actually the cave wall.
Okay.
I've actually put it in too much because it turns a corner, so I'll reveal again. I'm so unprepared for this game.
We were ready like an hour and a half early. How?
Yeah, I know. Well, that's part of it, I think, because I was chatting to you guys and getting the stream sorted out instead of getting the game sorted out during that last hour when I could have been getting the game sorted out. So yeah, about that point there, where the fog of war ends, it turns roughly level with the side of the building.
Okay.
But there is a solid wall.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
Could
no
you-
back way out of the building unless it is actually tunneling into the rock.
So you're pinging for. Was that you pinging, or was that somebody else pinging?
I just shift pinged us back to where the party was. I've placed each of your tokens there. Now we're going to get a big test of whether I can remember Roll20. Can you actually move your own tokens, guys?
No.
Nope.
Brilliant. Well done, me. Okay, let's see if I can figure out why.
Ownership is a thing.
I know, and I thought I had already dealt with that, but maybe I haven't. Oh, that's interesting.
My
can't-
stream is not working, so I just stopped the thing.
I can tell you stopped your stream because you've just gone from being yellow on VC signal quality to green. So
Well,
I think your internet was not happy.
I'm encountering something very strange that I've never come across before.
Okay.
Which is... Ah, hang on. I think I may have put them... Yeah, there we go.
You put them on the wrong layer.
Bollocks. Excuse me while I put the map back where it's supposed to be. This is going so well.
Oh yeah, I can just see this as some kind of.
This is a perfect
Audition.
example of how not to run a game. Right, let's move your tokens to the token layer. That would be a good plan. I
How
accidentally put
not
them on
to
the
be
map and
seen.
backgrounds layer. And now I should be able to set
Definitely
control
getting Morse
by...
code messages.
There we go. Controlled by Night Bites on that one.
Yay!
Controlled by Robinson on that one.
Who's Sod Robinson?
Controlled by Dratacup on that one.
Yay. Hello.
And finally, because I apologise that I still haven't given you an icon because I completely forgot I hadn't done it yet. Controlled by Baru on the last one.
Blink.
So now you should have control of your own tokens. So feel free to arrange yourselves in some way to indicate how you're going to be approaching the door to this building.
This is a door, isn't it? I'm outside.
That is a door that you are outside. There is a
Good.
shuttered window further down. And as I mentioned last time, I hope I mentioned this last time anyway, if not, I'm retconning it.
It was
the
on there after everyone's
shutters-
forgotten anyway.
On the shuttered windows on this building, unlike the other buildings that you found, the shutters are in fairly good condition and intact, and are all closed.
Based
But
on
there's
the
no.
colours of the
Sorry.
windows in the other buildings, how, if the shutters were opened, would we be able to get in through a window or out through a window?
You had to asking my question there.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Lucian might have some trouble because he's wearing a male shirt, which makes him that bit bulkier. But anybody in studded leather or less armour, and certainly Twittle, who is half the size of anyone else, should be able to get through one of the windows without too much trouble.
I'm going to head, in that case, down to the shutter. How much gap is there between the two halves of the shutter?
Well, there's enough gap that if there was light in there, you'd be able to see it. Probably enough to get a slender dagger blade through.
That was what I was wondering. Could we get a dagger in and lift?
I suspect Cobbs had a slightly less subtle option than in mind.
That's why I am a combat trained underground scout.
And I am not.
Yes.
Is there enough gap to get the blade of an axe in and just crack the thing open?
You might have to force the blade in, but you could probably do it.
Well,
Yeah.
I
could
have a
probably
couple
manage
of
that with a bit
weapons
of a
we
swing.
could use.
I'll tell you what, why don't we try the quieter route first, and then if that doesn't work, axe away.
I have an axe I can axe with.
Does this mean I just sort of
A big
stand
one.
there for the time being?
Yeah, that's probably your safest bet. I'm going to pull one of my many daggers.
Okay, so I'm going to call this an open locks roll. You would get a huge bonus normally for the fact that you're not really opening a lock, you're defeating a simple catch.
Yeah.
However, you're also doing it in a slightly awkward way, so it's going to
Sure.
kind of balance out and just make it a straight open lock
So
roll.
just a straight
And hello,
open
Mickey
box.
Adore.
Okay.
Welcome to the stream.
Greetings, Mickey. Who's the man in black?
That would be Mark, who doesn't have a camera.
Oh, right. Sorry, just for a second. I thought the only two people wearing black on this stream were the women.
Black?
Well, yeah.
My Incan, the Incan? Aztec,
Yeah.
whichever
I'm
he
wearing
was,
grey.
headhunter is
Yes.
white on black.
Yes, the one I made the mistake of walking through London wearing at one point, thinking, shit.
Yeah.
Not very wise.
Carrying a picture of a guy holding a big machete and a severed head. It's,
Yeah.
in recent years, not the best plan.
Yeah. In my defence, I didn't actually think. I just grabbed the shirt.
Yeah.
Right.
In case anybody's wondering, by the way, this is not just a random picture of homicidal violence. This is, in fact, the official T-shirt of Salute
that year's Salute.
from a year that I
2012.
should
Get
know.
up and take
Yes.
your shirt off, and we'll
I
tell
was going to say I should know that because it was the year it was the 40th anniversary of Salute, which is also on my 40th birthday, so I should know it.
Open looks 40, so 8 should do it, yeah?
8 should do it, yes. Okay, so you struggle a little bit because the catch on the inside, the moment you engage it with your dagger and start lifting it,
Yeah.
you realise that the catch on the inside is actually a bar. But while
Yeah.
it's fairly solid, it's not very heavy, and you're able to lift it enough that its own weight then slips it out of the
Okay.
holders. And it does then clatter to the ground in the kind of way that causes GMs to make wandering monster rolls.
I was about to say, given that it's making a noise, how much noise is it making?
It's not making a massive amount of noise.
Doesn't need to. We're in a cave where there's not a lot of background noise.
If a shutter bar falls in a cave and
Certainly-
there's no monster to hear it, does it still make a sound?
Certainly Shrine can hear it hit the ground, and it's possible that the others of you might hear something depending on how close. If you're standing where you're showing on the battle map, then you probably won't hear it. from that
To be
far
honest,
away.
with Shrine there, I was kind of expecting to move up here just in case something decided to come out the door.
Yeah. From
Yeah,
from
that's-
that distance,
cool,
you're
actually.
probably not going
I'm
to
standing
hear it.
around the corner in just in case something pops up.
Okay.
Fair enough.
And Lucian is leaning on a lamppost on the corner of the street, in case a certain little kobold comes by.
Kobold we could cope with. Actually,
It's probably about what you
maybe
can
not.
cope with. Yeah, you're level 1.
I don't know. Kobolds get bows.
Bows, yes.
That's true. Never charge 6
No.
kobolds with bows. Sage advice.
Always just give it to them for free.
Ouch. Right, okay, let's do a little bit of a polygonal reveal here, because you've now got a partially open
I've got a slit.
shutter. So there you go, that's what you can see through the slit.
You are taking the smeg. You really are.
You haven't opened it yet.
No, I haven't. But still, you are. Okay, I am going to carefully push.
What isn't really showing
shutter
up on that
inwards
slit,
on the
but that is
right.
close enough you will be able to see it. It's just not showing well on the map.
Is the
all-
door Knight is standing against? Is that one locked or closed or?
Nobody's
I
tried
haven't
it yet.
touched it. I haven't touched it. I'm waiting for a door opener extraordinaire to give me the green light.
Nobody has tried it yet. Almost immediately inside the window, you can just about see a chair. But
Right.
and on the far side of the room, directly in line with the window, you can see what appears to be a fireplace.
Okay. Well, I'm sticking with that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay. I am going to
Have I not
carefully
got
push open
chat
the
coming up on
right-hand
screen?
shutter.
You know, I don't think I have I? Sorry for that distraction now. I've just realised I haven't got chat coming up on screen at all. But it's presumably because I haven't found a place to put it on this layout, so I'm not going to try and change that now.
Oh, well,
Right,
shit
so you're
happens.
pushing open the right-hand shutter, did you say?
I am, yes. Because that
Okay.
should give me the best view of the interior of
That
the
will
room.
give you roughly, let's call it about there.
Oh, thanks, Mecky. Now I really feel good about things.
Just so long as he's not a sniper nun
Oh,
goblin
how
like
big?
the one in
How
Talisman.
big is that window?
How big is that window? Kind of window-sized, to be honest.
A couple of feet by the looks of it. Okay.
Just going to
I can't. Can I listen and see
shift
if I
ping
can
us down a
hear
little
any,
further so that the
any
stream
movement?
can see that
I'm
better.
listening for any movement.
Right, what is your detect noise skill?
Oh, I hate you so much.
roguish
15. This is the one thing I really can't do at all.
Well, that depends, because there are all kinds of bonuses for listen rolls.
True.
Um,
I'm not sure if half elves get a bonus.
I don't know, but it should already be factored in if you do.
I thought I had. No, hide in shadows, remove. Yeah, no. That would be
I
too
should check
useful.
volume.
Okay, having said there's all kinds of bonuses to listen rolls, apparently they're not on the GM screen. They didn't feel
Yeah,
it
because
was
that'd be too simple.
necessary for you to know whether you can listen. They might
Is
be
that
on the
the
player's
GM
side of the
screen?
GM screen.
Is that the GM screen you took all the way to Spain?
That's the GM screen I took all the way to Spain
That's a well-travelled
and
GM.
did nothing
It
with
is.
once it was there.
I know, you just used it as a coaster repeatedly.
No, I didn't use it as a coaster. I used it as a mouse mat.
which is
mainly.
so much better.
Yes,
Much better.
less chance of tea.
Yeah, now I've got the thief average ability table on here, but I don't have the modifiers to rolls. Either way, you can't hear anything at the moment. All is
Okay.
quiet, but you can now see more inside. This is based on the fact that you can see in the dark, because there's no
Okay.
light source in there.
No, that's fine. Okay, I am going to slip over, opening the other side if need be, which I probably will. The sill into the room beyond, making use of the chair if I have to.
Right, in that case,
Definitely
I'm
not kicking it over.
just going to do this the easy way at this point and reveal the rest of the room.
23 goblins. Oh, okay.
See? Nothing to worry about.
Yeah. I've walked into
And
someone's
I'm not
interrogation
even going to
chamber.
make you roll to get into the room, because
Okay.
it's pretty easy. The
Oh, I'm on snap to grid. Fair enough.
window is a little bit... If I remember rightly, hang on, let me just check this.
I think it's out.
Yeah, it's something. It is out, you're right.
Yeah.
So yeah, out drag to place yourself off grid, should you wish to.
Okay. Going off the grid, guys.
Yeah, the window's a little bit of a
dun.
tight squeeze for you. Not a hugely tight squeeze, because you are an elf. Or a half-elf. But it's not designed as a door. It could be a door quite comfortably for Twittle. But not so much for you. But you can get in.
Okay. Let's
So yeah, you
do my
find yourself
scouting then.
in a room which is slightly better appointed than the ones you've looked in previously. Just put the
Okay.
microphone
It's
again
intact.
so I can
That's a
look up.
start.
Yeah, for starters, it is intact. It's the building hasn't suffered the damage that the other ones had, and as a result, perhaps, of that, it also doesn't seem to be suffering from the dampness and mould that you have seen elsewhere.
So it's drier than... Sorry, I'm not there. Shut up.
I'm
Oh,
going
yeah.
to be covering Drat as she goes in.
You coming down to the window?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Bing.
The furniture in it is plain but well made. It
And not
looks
falling apart.
looks like the sort of furniture that somebody once upon a time spent a fair amount of money on but didn't pay for decoration. So it's, as I said, well made, but it is quite plain.
Right.
You've got a couple of chairs, you've got a fireplace over on the far side. There's no chimney. So the room probably would have got quite smoky unless they were very careful with what they were burning in the fireplace.
Okay.
But chimneys actually don't work very well underground.
Not terribly.
Any dwarf who if we had one here, would be able to tell you, and probably the ranger would be able to tell you anyway, that chimneys work on the basis of a wind blowing over the top of it. Now, they don't understand air pressure differentials to know why it works that way, but they do know that with the wind blowing over the top, more smoke is sucked out of the chimney. With no wind blowing over the top, the chimney is just a hole.
Yeah.
I think you're overestimating the ability of this particular ranger to tell you that, given that he was raised and brought up on boats, where they
On
tend not to
boats.
set fire to things that much.
This is very true. But when they do set fire to things, they need to be absolutely sure of where the fire and the smoke are going to go.
Yes.
True. Yes. In the direction of the wind.
If you have
Please,
got,
yeah.
if you've got, for example, a cook on the lower decks, he's going to need to know where the smoke is going from his fire.
Yes.
So it's probably something that you will have picked up, but in fairly
That is
basic
true, yes.
terms.
Hadn't thought of it that way, but yes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the chimney really wouldn't function very well down here. So they just haven't bothered with one by the looks of it.
Okay.
You've got a table on the, just off centre to the right, on the south wall there, and you have got a sideboard or cupboard of some kind in the lower left corner.
Mm-hmm.
I've just added Mechiador, but I ran out, so I'll have to add some more later.
I've got some.
Is there anything we at least we can see on the cupboards or the tables that it can be of any use?
Okay. On the table, you can see a couple of wooden bowls.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing on the cupboard, but it does have 2 cupboard doors in the front, so there may be something in it.
Okie dokie.
You can see also, of course, that there is a wall, an interior wall. The exterior walls are made of stone. As you know, these are small stone bricks that have been, as far as you can tell, chiseled out of the walls of the canyon, of the chasm, in the cavern. That's the word. In making it squaring it off. But the interior wall is much lighter and appears to be wattle and daub. And I still think wattle and daub sounds like a pair of bards who probably perform up
Halfling
top in
bards.
Waterdeep. Yes, halfling bards, perfect.
Yes. Okay. Right. I am going
You
to
just see wattle and daub coming on stage and saying, I say, why did the skeleton
you
not go
say?
to the ball?
I'm going to hop onto the windowsill, so I'm standing in the.
Okay.
Spider
you-
twiddle, spider twiddle.
with your dexterity, I'm not going to ask you to roll for that. That's a very reasonable thing for you to be able to do. So yeah, you're standing on a windowsill. You can almost stand up straight in the window. Not quite, but almost.
Oh, a bit back.
So, Drut, do I assume you are examining this door?
I am.
Okay, what is the... in what order? What is the procedure by which you are examining it? Are you listening first? Are you checking it's locked first? Are you studying it for traps first?
I am listening first, then I'm checking for traps, then I'm seeing whether it's locked.
Okay, listening at the door, you hear nothing on the other side.
That doesn't shock me.
The door is not locked.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have much in the way of a handle. It's a fairly simple... it's a lever type handle rather than a knob.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And it appears simply, although it does look like it goes through to an analog on the far side, it simply raises a catch on this side of the door rather than one that's built into the wall. It's not like a modern building. Essentially,
Fair enough.
the handle has a little lever on it, and the lever pushes up the catch so that it no longer connects. Simple as that.
Oh, gotcha.
My guess is that you both are listening into the same room by now.
Quite possibly. I'm
Well,
just
I'm
hoping
not
that...
really doing much listening. I'm sort of stood here, axes in
Waiting.
hand, waiting for something unpleasant to come through at me.
In D&D terms, they'd have to be pretty small rooms on the far side of this wall for it not to be the same room. In real terms, that could easily be 2 rooms.
Yeah.
But in D&D
Yeah.
terms, no. Because 10
In
by
real
15
terms-
feet is actually not a bad size for a room. He
Okay.
says, looking around the flat he's in that is smaller than that.
I'm looking there at the 15 by 20.
15 by 20 that you're standing in. Yeah, in D&D
Yeah.
terms, it's a fairly small room.
It's basically the size of my flat.
Yeah,
The whole thing.
Yeah.
This room.
in real terms, these rooms are quite hefty.
Yeah.
Given what you've seen before, these are actually this
Uh-huh.
is actually a pretty big room. This is
Yeah.
the size of one of the buildings that you have already checked out, and those buildings, of course, had no other rooms.
Yep.
Yeah.
They lived entirely in a space the size of this, presumably kitchen dining room.
Yeah. Of the whole.
I'm looking from Dread. I don't know the character names, but from Dread to Night and back to see if I can signal something that's for opening the doors, or at least listening.
Well,
Well,
Shrine,
you could
which
just
is
say it.
Drut, is
Shrine,
paying more
yeah.
attention to the door than you, so you'll have to wait till she turns around before you can really signal anything.
Yeah.
I assume that Cops is splitting his attention between the window where Twittle is, where you know your companions have gone, and the door in front of you just in case it opens. So he will see
more
any
biased towards the
signal
door
you want
than
to make.
Twittle, because Twittle will make a noise if something unpleasant happens. The door won't. It'll just suddenly not be there, and there'll be unpleasant.
I see. You'll turn and look at the window more if you hear a sudden eek.
Basically, yes.
Okay, right. Since Rum apparently makes everything better.
Oh, don't make me go and get mine. Not when I've got vote tomorrow.
I do
Not a
apologise,
problem.
Mecky. I should really be doing this in the
Meters.
spirit of Hobby Gamers International. I should be doing this in meters as well. Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I should just be doing it in meters, because those of us that aren't Euro types, which is 3 of us, are still Brits, where we officially use the metric system anyway. It's just the game
the
happens to
UK
be American.
I need the meters.
Yeah. The UK's weird, however, because
For rough,
We
it's
think
not
in both.
accurate. It's not accurate in any stretch of the imagination. But for rough estimates, Barrow, if you just treat each of the squares on the map as being 1.5 meters,
I know.
that should do it.
So, are you going to open the door, or?
Well, I can if you want.
God.
Starts to
That
raise
was-
his leg to
I-
boot the door in.
you
I
can't
don't
see
know,
him
I
do
can't
that.
see
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
For justice.
Well, I'm going to carefully and cautiously open the door.
So, are you actually going to boot the
Um,
door open, Knight?
No, I'm going to try the handle first.
With
Okay.
his foot.
I thought you were going to do the normal D&D thing, which is completely skip checking if the door's locked.
You know.
No, we do. I know. Well, yeah.
Other people might,
I'm-
but
I'm
I
going
am
to,
vaguely civilized and I'm used to normal doors. I will try the door
I
first.
thought you were
So,
saying
are you going to kick in the door, or are you going to loot the room?
Civilized and sailor.
I'm going to.
Too much
Yeah.
munchkin.
Mushkin.
Mushkin,
Mushkin,
that's the
what
one.
the
I've
hell
only
have you
had that
been
one
drinking?
small on me L.
Yeah, but that's honey. That goes straight to your head.
Oh, that's what it is. It's the honey.
I'm
Okay,
going to
so-
tell Knight that he can. Yeah, I was going to say he can go in.
Yeah, you're probably both going to open the doors at about the same time, although in
Yeah.
your case, Knight, you might be just opening it a crack to prove that it opens. I'll leave that up to you.
No, opening it far enough that there's something there I can swing an axe at it, so it's not a
Okay.
crack.
So I've revealed the room fully,
Okay.
because I
I'm
don't
going
think this
to-
warrants a gradual reveal. What you've got is
Uh-huh.
another room about the same size as the one below. Exactly the same size. It is fairly empty. You can see a couple of chairs in the back corners, which just seem to have been sort of dumped there. And you can see rolled up in this corner, bottom left, you can see some sort of a stiff cloth that perhaps was once a rug that may have been taken up from the floor, rolled up and stacked in a corner. But it's hard to tell, because even though this building is in much better condition, it's still been here a very long time.
I'm going to follow Drat into this room and see
I shall
like
step
it.
in. I shall
Feel
put one of
free-
my axes at Drat.
see if I can
Trina,
see
the door is
anything of
open.
note in the first room.
Well, there's that cupboard that hasn't been looked in yet.
I'll
Yeah.
look into that.
I'm gonna look into it.
I'll look into that.
Okay. Right, so opening the doors on the sideboard there, you find, not unsurprisingly, a big open cupboard with a single shelf in the middle of it, splitting it up. And in there, you can find a number of wooden plates and bowls, a couple of what look to be copper pans of differing sizes. There's a larger one and a smaller one. And there are even, in one corner, 3 ceramic plates.
Ooh,
Not just the
Ceramic.
wooden.
that's actually impressive.
Yeah.
Ah,
So whoever was here was fairly well to do.
nothing
Yeah.
of worth in here.
None of it is of significant value to player characters who
However,
deal in a different
it's-
economical scale to
Yeah.
the average
Well.
people.
However, those of us who've seen Time Team are going, clearly a high status household.
Yes.
You've got to
Yeah.
love any game in which a complete month's wages is a minimal bribe to be given to an orphan to get them to perform a task.
Yes.
Is there
That's
any,
roughly
any
what a gold
other,
piece would be.
Hmm.
Is there any other cupboards or things to open in this room?
No, that appears to be about it. There's quite a
Is
lot of
that
dust
a
and some
table?
cobwebs.
Fish, did you see that?
I didn't.
Is that a table?
That is a table. That's the table that I said
Right,
had a couple of
okay.
wooden bowls on it.
Oh, of course, sorry. My apologies.
And this over here, not that I can see it, but this was the fireplace.
And that's the
Fireplace,
fireplace, yeah.
Okay.
There is. I didn't describe it before, but there is actually an iron tripod over the fire. There's no sign of any pan hanging from it, but clearly it was used for cooking. It's got that iron tripod arrangement that they would hang a cook pot from in order to be able to do stuff.
Well, while Shrine and Twiddle are looking in that room, I'm going to take a look at the rags. What did you say it was? Alt?
Yeah,
the
it's-
rags that are down here.
If you hold down Alt while moving, if you want to move off grid.
I'm going to sort of, rather than poke it with my hands, I'm going to take the haft of one of the axes and sort of poke it and see what happens.
Okay, as you poke it with the haft of your axe, basically your axe goes straight through it. Although the building as a whole is drier than the others that you have found, nevertheless, you have found the place that has accumulated all of the moisture in this. It was, now that you're looking at it more closely, it clearly was a fairly large rug, maybe 10 feet by about 6 feet, which again in its day would have been an expensive piece of furniture, and presumably adorned the floor of this room as a welcoming room or an entrance chamber, so that when people came in they would be greeted with this impressive piece of floor furniture, and then greeted and taken to wherever else they might go within the building. It's now mildewed, mouldy, and falls apart at the slightest touch, but you can just about see that at some stage it was patterned in quite dark colours, but you can no longer make out, even if you could unroll it, you don't think you'd be able to make out what the pattern was.
Anyone know why they roll up the welcome mat?
Maybe they left.
Did they move out?
It's possible. Huh.
Why not take it with them if they did?
If you're answering his questions, I'm going to move you to at least the doorway, Mark.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was standing guard. That was
Makes
my impression.
sense.
Not that I really need to stand guard, but I'm big and clunky.
Yeah, you can still stand guard in the doorway, or
What-
just
what-
outside the door.
Just a quick question. What are my skills mostly? Because I have no idea what I'm good at or what.
Oh god, we did establish some of what you had, I think, in the previous session, or the session that you were actually in. But without going back and rewatching the VOD now, given that was like what, November?
A while ago.
I can't really remember. You've got a few non-weapon proficiencies that you can pick from. At this stage, because the character hasn't been fully completed, I'm okay with ignoring what we established that you had before. And if there is something in particular
I know what
you
weapons
want,
I'm carrying. I know what I'm carrying on my body, but I don't know what skills I have in terms of sneaking, listening, or
well,
stuff like that.
in this edition, only thieves actually get things like move silently in this edition. There isn't a full skill
Yeah.
system. So you If you're sneaking without that, it just comes down to whether the GM decides you're likely to get seen, and then it might be an opposed roll on something like a dexterity check against somebody else's wisdom, maybe. But that's purely when you're dealing with unskilled people against unskilled people. If either side is skilled, so if a thief is listening for you and they make their detect noise roll, there's nothing you can do to stop them hearing you. And at the same time, if a thief makes their move silently roll, there's nothing you can do to hear them. There's no opposed checks like that in this game. But if you've got two unskilled people, two non-thieves, then I would probably make opposed rolls against dexterity, which you're pretty good at, and wisdom, to see whether or not you can sneak without being seen. Obviously modified for the circumstances. If you're wearing clumpy boots on a metal floor, then you're likely to get hurt. There is a list of non-weapon proficiencies, which was the predecessor to skills.
I'm very quiet anyway because I'm practically barefoot.
Yeah, and you're a halfling, which makes
you're a halfling. You probably are barefoot.
pretty dead.
Yeah.
Trying to remember whether this
just from the
checking whether this
concept
edition of halfling get the surprise bonuses, because in certain editions of D&D, particularly certainly in Redbox Basic D&D, halflings get a bonus to surprise. Yep, a halfling can gain a bonus to surprise opponents, but only if the halfling is not in metal armor. Even then, the halfling must either be alone or with a party of only of halflings or elves, or 90 feet or more away from their party to gain this bonus. I would also say that a rogue using Move Silently qualifies as a halfling or an elf for those circumstances. But it does mean if you're sneaking away on your own, the surprise rolls that your opponents make to see whether they notice you sneaking up on them are greatly penalised because you're a halfling and you move quietly by default.
Yeah.
So they're going to hear the people around you, not you, in most circumstances.
Well, we've got Robinson sort of clanking around in chain.
Yeah, Robinson's the guy people are going to hear. Lucian is not subtle.
I think in my case it's not my feet that are making noise, it's what I'm wearing, it's my weapons.
Yeah, the occasional clink of sword, buckler or axe. Yeah.
Twang.
If I just look, I have a crossbow on my hip. I have a... What is it? What was it? Long sword.
As I recall, you have a short sword.
A sword with a covered hand guard.
Yeah, you have a short sword with
I have a dagger, and I'm
hilt.
having a two-handed axe in my hand.
Yeah. Never mind, you are small, so all of these weapons are smaller than they look because they're scaled to you. So the short sword looks more like a bigger sword. The axe is actually a hand axe, but looks like a battle axe when you're holding it.
So,
and it's not on the picture, but when we were coming up with the character, we did decide that you have a buckler that can't be seen in that picture, so you've got the small shield that you can use as well if you want it. So you've got that choice of weapons. You can use the shield with anything except the crossbow, anyway. Or you can theoretically use two weapons, but there are penalties for doing that.
Right.
Let's move into the next door.
Okay, so before I step through this door, actually,
yes,
I'm going to go and fill the ashes in the fireplace. Make sure it's completely dead.
Hey.
Ooh.
I'm going to move up to the
GM
door.
rolls for surprise as the ash monster attacks you.
I wear gloves. Just saying.
Yeah. The word rot grubs did flit through my mind, but now I've done that to you before. It would be mean to do it to you again.
I specifically own gloves because rot grubs.
Because rot grubs, yeah. If anybody doesn't know what rot grubs are, they are little maggot-like things which burrow into your skin.
Oh,
and
lovely.
they basically have to be... They will make their way towards your heart, at which point they kill you. And they have to be either cut or burned out to stop them. Last time Drat encountered them, she failed a couple of rolls as they moved swiftly up the arm of one of her characters, and in the end, in order to save her life, they had to cut off her arm.
Oh.
3 characters, all played by me.
Yeah. This was cutting off the arm of a twin weapon wielding ranger.
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
Twin weapon wielding mage thief. Fighting
Oh, that's
mage
right.
thief.
Yes, it was the ranger who actually did the cutting. It was Serinia did the cutting, but it was Riccardi who actually got hit,
Yes.
wasn't it? Yes.
Dyson filled up the medical
Yeah.
checks, and then eventually just got Serinia
Yeah.
to do the cutting after they put the
Fortunately-
ring of regeneration
Yeah.
on her
Fortunately, they
other
had a ring of
hand.
regeneration, which equally fortunately I made a mistake and allowed it to stand, so it had been house ruled that it regenerated limbs because they
Ah.
don't normally.
Arguing.
But I allowed that one to do it because I let
Oh,
it
no, it
once
wasn't.
and then let it stand because it
Yeah.
was my cock up.
You were right. You were right. It was Serinia who lost an arm.
I thought it was.
It was, yes, because Riccardi
Did it with Serenia's own sword just to put
Yes.
heap insult on top of injury.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That's cold.
Because Riccardi
Yes,
used the rapier,
Serinia-
so she couldn't use hers.
Yes. No. I could stab it. I could have done the perforations and then sort of snapped
Tear
it,
a long
but that's
dotted
about
line.
it. But no, that was a frantic session, and since then, yes, my thiefy type characters have tended to wear
That was
gloves.
one of the 3 times that I ran the Sinister Secret of
Saltmarsh.
Saltmarsh. Something along those lines. I can't remember what it's actually called. It may well be the Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh.
I think it is. It's, that rings bells.
And then you got Danger at Dunwater is part 2, and the Final Enemy part
Yeah.
3. Excellent set of first edition AD&D scenarios. The first scenarios published by TSR UK, in fact. So the first one's actually written and published in the United Kingdom, and with a very slightly different feel to the stuff that the Americans had been producing up to that point, which distinguished them from the American things. Later on, the styles sort of merged a bit more. The American stuff got a little bit more British, and the British stuff got a little bit more American, and you just had a standardized "this is D&D." But at that point, people could actually tell who'd written which scenarios, and they're very good scenarios now available on D&D Classics or Drive Through RPG, which are the same site with a different front end. Should anybody wish to look them up, and at some point, I might have 4th go at running them because I've still never got you to the last part of the scenario. I've run the first 2. I've still never run the 3rd one.
I've certainly done Saltmarsh at least once with you.
Yeah.
I've done it at least twice, possibly 3 times.
I can't remember which character it was I had, but I've definitely
If I
done.
run it again, I will have to completely redesign Saltmarsh because I've run it.
Yes.
At least, I think 3 times with
Yeah.
different players, except that I think Drup was in all of them.
That's entirely possible.
I have got really good at deleting what my character doesn't know.
But it would be more interesting for you if I do just redesign it.
Oh yeah.
So maybe
God,
one
yes,
day I will. Especially
absolutely.
now we're playing AD&D actually, which there's almost no conversion needed from 1st to 2nd edition. You can literally, because this is what I used to do. I've never actually run 1st edition. I played it, but I never ran it. But I used a load of 1st edition adventures and material because there's so little change really between the 2 editions that you can just pick up the 1st edition scenario and run it in 2nd edition. And the only thing that you might want to do is not use the stats written in the book, just to use the ones from the monster manual. But mostly they're the same anyway.
Yep.
Anyway, the ashes are cold and slightly sludgy. This is the other place where some condensation has occurred and moisture has gathered. It's not that this place is completely dry. You know, it's not bone dry and suspiciously dry. It's just not riddled with damp. So it has the moisture has gathered in those places you might expect moisture to gather. So it's a bit damp in the back of the cupboard that Twittle looked in. The cloth rolled up in the corner there, which will actually absorb moisture over time, is damp. And the ashes in the fireplace, again, have absorbed moisture over time and are a bit sludgy. There's nothing living in it, and it's definitely that it's been there a long time. There's nothing recent about these ashes. Even you can tell that.
Even I can tell that. Thanks for that.
Well, you don't have any rangery type skills to tell.
No,
it,
I don't. But you know, if it was warm, I'd know that it had been used.
It's not just not warm. It's obviously old.
Yeah. Okay. So. In that case, I guess move on. This room's not got much to recommend it.
Listening at the door.
Yep.
Can you hear anything?
I don't know. I'll let you
Shall I come
know.
and help out?
Can you hear
What do
anything?
your elf
Yes,
ears
I can
hear?
hear an idiot talking at me.
Gosh, having to
Okay.
listen really hard, aren't you? God, isn't it quite loud noisy in here?
You-
You have to be really quiet now.
You don't hear anything from the other side of this door either.
Okay, I really hate when the GM rolls stealth and such.
Mm.
It's really annoying.
It's the way it should work.
Oh yeah, didn't
Yeah.
say it wasn't. It's just annoying.
So, opening the
It's
door.
annoying when I do it. Yes. Find remove traps.
Okay, what is your find remove trap score?
25.
25.
I actually put 20 points into this.
Okay. You find no traps.
Mm-hmm. Okie dokie.
GM knows he's doing something right when the players spontaneously decide to find remove traps on a door.
Well, no, I was just
Must
thinking.
be doing
is
something
it
right.
moved
She's
deep into the
getting
building?
nervous.
Fine. I don't get nervous. I make other people nervous.
I don't
There's a
get nervous, I get
difference.
even.
Don't get mad, get even. Right, okay, in that case, yes. Are the hinges left or right?
The hinges are to the left in this case, and the door opens towards you.
Oh, that's going to be jolly. In which case, I'm going to open from over here, so I can pull it open and step out of the way.
Ignore the fact that if you zoom in, the door is clearly the other way around. It's the way I just told you.
I was just thinking that, but thought I wasn't going to say anything. If you're going to out yourself, that's your business.
Yep, no, I'm willing to out myself. This is a representative map. It's not necessarily an exact detail.
I've seen my maps. It's just, frankly,
Not an
this is
explicit
great.
representation of what we're dealing with.
Yes.
Okay,
Warning, this
so
map is explicit.
having found previously a kitchen dining room, this is obviously the formal dining room.
Okay.
The table in the
Definitely
middle
high status.
is more impressive than it looks on the map. It's about the right size. However, the table that you're looking at is more oval rather than square, and in this case actually is decorated. Not massively decorated, but it does have some tapering on the edges and a little bit of scroll work on the legs and things like that, just to make it look that much more impressive. And it's a nice solid table which looks like it has probably survived the
Oh my word.
decades well.
Yeah, that's what I just was about to say.
Midna, thank you for the host of the epic nature. Holy moly. Sorry to interrupt,
Awesome.
Fishy, but I've just had a rather epic host.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just going to jump
It's
over
a
to
midnight
your chat
raid.
channel.
Oh my goodness.
That's good.
Stand by to embrace raiders.
Yes. Since that already looks like a shipper name, I'm getting really worried now.
I don't prepare to defend against raiders. I embrace them. Welcome
Yes.
to everyone that Midna's brought
Absolutely.
with you. Thank you. Hello,
Yes.
good evening to you.
Pull up a
Welcome
chair,
to
you
an
might have to
evening
share.
of D&D, GM'd by my good friend, my old friend, Hidden Fishy, who's directly above my head there.
It's a little uncomfortable up here, but we cope.
Worryingly, in the same order that you guys are on my screen. And I rearranged mine. I'm slightly freaked.
That's Druttercup over there to the right. I don't believe Drut's streaming tonight. And then slightly
I'm not.
further right is Lady Baruran. And even
Hello.
further right with voice only.
Yeah, black cat
Is
in a coal
Robinson.
shed.
Yes, I'm a
Oh my goodness,
disembodied
there's loads of
voice.
them coming in. Hello everybody. Hello Midnights.
Hello.
Goodness.
So yes, hello everybody.
Hello.
Right, sorry for the interruption there, Fishy. Do carry on.
Oh, not a problem. That's the kind of interruption we like.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, this is a nice, somewhat decorated and solid table that looks like it has survived the decades or possibly centuries quite well. Would probably need a little bit of work, but if you could find a way of getting it out of Undermountain, this might actually sell for a few shekels. The chairs around it are also better than the ones that you have seen elsewhere in this building. They clearly are a set. They have the same kind of scroll work on them, and they match quite nicely. Unfortunately, the upholstery on them has suffered the same way that the rug you looked at before has. So they would need to be reupholstered if they
Oh,
were
the
to be
horror.
used. And they are also, you know, in the world's deadliest dungeon somewhere underneath Waterdeep. So selling them might be tricky.
Yes.
I think if you put it up as buyer collects, you're not going to get any takers.
I'm sure if we found some sort of mechanism by which we could drag them out, it might be a bit easier. Getting the table through those doors might be difficult.
That actually shouldn't be too hard.
Isn't that what punching holes in walls was created for?
Well, no, it should be fine. It should be fine. We just have to angle it to come through the door. And yeah, well, Fish, you put the situation there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It still has to get past that dragon.
We could always look at ways of actually dismantling it and flat packing it, and then sort of sell it as like an IKEA bundle.
If you can get it back to the river, maybe you can turn it upside down and sail it back to Skullport.
We are a boat short.
Oh,
Yes.
yes, we can tie them all together as a raft.
Actually, that's not a bad idea, rafting it back
You need
up.
someone with rope use and seaman.
Well, there we go.
That'd be me.
Yes, carp riding back on top of a table.
With some really sort of old school adventure music.
Yes. One rope to each front leg. You can stand
Some
there and go,
Indiana Jones in the background.
Ride of the Valkyries.
Yes.
I'm going to also squeeze.
You realise we're
myself
going to do
into
that,
the room.
Fish. If we can come back this way, you realise we're going to do that.
Yeah, because you haven't got to get it to to Waterdeep. You've only got to get it as far as Skullport. You could sell it there.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
For anybody who didn't notice, because you're not actually watching my stream, I've just added you a third brownie point die for that conversation. You're up to 3d4
Thank
now.
you.
Just to remind you and tell anybody who may not know, the way I use brownie point dice in this game is that they are a pool available to the entire party, who can spend those dice to roll them and add them to any other die roll. So you can do it to add extra damage, you can do it to add to a skill roll, not that this game has skill rolls. For proficiency checks, which is what this game does have, you'd be adding it to your attribute, because then you're trying to roll under the attribute, so you'd get the extra d4 added to that.
Question. I haven't bought any illumination in yet, so me and Carp are fine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you say fine, you don't have dark vision,
No, we have low light.
but you've got light coming in through the open
It's
door.
infravision we have, isn't it?
It's infravision we've got.
Are
So
you sure you
we're
have?
Okay.
I think you've got low light vision. I don't think you have infravision, but I could
Don't
be
write it
wrong.
down on my
It may have
character
been
sheet.
3rd edition where they swapped it to low light.
Hang on. Half elves.
Been too long since I played this edition.
It's been
I
a
love
while.
this edition.
Yeah. It is.
I'm going to listen
Half elves.
listen at the door I'm standing next to.
I've got to be honest, Kizru.
Half elf and infravision. 60
I
meters
don't
dark
know.
vision.
yeah,
sure.
I was entirely wrong. Well done.
how the inspiration dice work, because I haven't played any version of D&D that's later than 3.5. So I've got no idea about how brownie points compare in terms of what you're used to for inspiration dice.
Yeah, effectively they do work like Bardic Inspiration dice from 5th edition. That is about right. The
Established.
difference here being that they're earned through roleplay rather than being given as a class ability.
Just out of curiosity, have we established what subrace Twittle is?
Oh God, I forgot half these.
She is, I think it's the stout, it's
Yeah.
whichever the most common one is. She does
15%
not have
chance
infravision.
to have infravision.
She does.
Oh,
We've rolled
damn.
it. She doesn't have infravision.
Oh, I didn't know you'd already rolled it. I
Yeah.
was just checking.
Well, I say we. I rolled it,
And you didn't roll low.
and I didn't roll low. No, because I don't roll low. We know this. My
you-
dice do not roll low. My dice
You
roll
rolled to
bad.
fail.
They roll badly for you though. You weren't
Yeah,
rolling for
this
you.
is
You
true.
were rolling for someone else.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was kind of hoping she'd have infravision, to be honest. So that's why.
Oh, there
if
we
I hadn't
That's
cared,
what
she
it
would have
is.
had a better chance.
Yeah.
Okay, so if nothing else, then poor old Lucian
Poor old Lucian is still having to carry all that
is
sort of
needing
thing.
to carry a
Yeah,
lantern.
I'm just
anyway.
stood out the back here. That's why I haven't gone in.
So-
we need to get him
Lucian-
a glow stick of some sort. See if
Yeah.
we can
Yeah,
magic up.
do we have like magic torches?
No, we just have lanterns, dear.
We do
Carry
have old
one.
school
Like
lanterns.
they belong in some 21st century game.
We have
the
lanterns.
standard in this
you
edition.
have a lantern that
Yeah.
you can see.
The standard magic tool in this edition, which as soon as you get a player up to a wizard up to 5th level, you can make for yourself, is marbles with continual light to cast on them.
Yes, that's what I was.
Yes.
That's the old
Yes.
standard
Yeah.
tactic. You would just toss the marble into a room ahead of you and it would illuminate up ahead. In 3rd
Yes.
edition, continual light was replaced with continual flame, which you can be used in exactly the same way, but looks rather different because then you have a small burning orb that you are lobbing around.
It flicker quite beautifully though.
Oh yes, yes, it really
I
was.
was very fond in third aid, I believe, of having that cast on a candle inside a lantern.
Yeah, well, I was,
Just, like,
of course,
sell
Athenocles.
burning lanterns.
Athenocles
Yeah.
was actually making and selling lanterns with continual flame cast inside them.
Yes.
If ever you're going to go into business, that's
Yep,
Yeah,
how
that
to
was
do
his first business.
Oh, he did. Yes.
it. Nice.
That and many holy symbols, incredibly detailed
Yeah,
work. on
very
these holy
detailed
symbols.
because I encountered these guys who were like 6 inches tall, and I reasoned that they would be able to make really intricate jewellery because to them it would be
Yeah.
huge when they were carving it. So I was selling them
he's
weapons
got-
in return for jewellery.
Yes. So he's basically got an entire race of the little people
The little people.
who are very little.
Oh, my goodness.
He's got
And
he's got the
kind of-
carpet people doing his.
Pretty much. He kind of was using them as a slave labour force,
Yeah,
except he was sort of paying them.
Yeah, I encountered an entire community of borrowers, I think.
Yes.
Sounds like it, yeah.
There was a good chance of him getting killed. It was a pre-written scenario,
Yeah.
and he just traded with them and went with it. And I went, okay,
Yeah, it was
fair
quite
enough.
fun.
We'll take that.
If it works.
Mm. The
Meanwhile, back
import-export
at the
business.
plot.
Right, yeah, meanwhile back at the plots.
Fishy. I'm
yeah.
going to listen at the door.
Oh, Twittle's getting in on the thiefy act.
Okay.
I
Right.
was
Lucy,
really
do you-
thinking about moving up.
Listen, you want to carry on standing there on your own in the dark, down the
Lucy?
corridor?
Step over this way a bit.
Walk this way.
I specifically didn't say that.
Yeah, I know. I did. I have no
Listening
shame.
at the door, you hear nothing.
Is that because my listening is bad? Or
Well,
You wear a
that's
thick
because
metal
as a non-thief, I'm giving you a 5% hit of detect noise skill, and that's only because I've house ruled it in.
Oh,
Obviously, if there were loud sounds, if there were sounds that any normal person would be able to hear, I would tell you about it. If there was somebody clumping around in the other room, you'd hear it without a die roll. The detect noise skill is for hearing stuff that you would otherwise miss.
I'm going to. It does it open towards us or into the room?
This one again opens towards you. The hinges on this are map south,
right.
so it is actually marked the right way round, unlike the previous door.
Okay.
Okay.
Tell you what, you take a step back, and then
There is,
you
by
two
the way,
can be
nothing
front
else
of the
in this
door.
room apart from the expensive-looking table and chairs.
Fair
Which
enough.
really
It-
just lives to confirm
I'm
that
going
to
this
take a
was
step
a
back then.
well-to-do
Sir.
household.
Shut up, Lazarus.
Taking a step back.
No, I shan't.
Okay, I am going to move down and take my life in my hands
Dun dun dun.
and fling the door, not fling, but flick the door open and then
Flick
retreat
the
back up
door
towards
open.
the.
Okay, so this
Retreat
is
behind the ranger.
another
Yeah.
example of the fact that this map is representative. It is not actually detailed. So
Okey-doke.
the door opens onto a spiral staircase.
They're just showing
Now-
I
us now.
signed this. Was Llewellyn Bowen involved?
On the map, I've just put a spiral staircase into this 10-foot by 10-foot area, but it's not a room with a spiral staircase in the middle of it. It is a
It is a
spiral
spiral.
staircase. This room is a spiral staircase.
We're talking castle time.
Yeah, we are.
Up or down?
Will I?
It's
It goes
not a
up.
stupid question.
It goes up.
So
Okay.
we're in a mountain. It could go either. It could go.
Yeah.
Could have gone both ways.
You could, yes.
It could indeedy.
Too bad I
Okay.
can't throw anyone. What?
I take it that people are looking at me to go first.
I mean, I could go first if no one wants to be able to get past.
I
No,
think
you're right.
at least approach a little closer to us, though.
I
Step
did
this
move
way.
in because I wanted to be able to see what you were doing. But oh wait, I'm going to press.
Out
Alt
of
again.
character, just a GM reminder because I know we're all a bit rusty. The most logical person to go first is anyone who can wield a weapon in their left hand.
So me then.
Or the ranger
Hang
who
on.
has
Or the
two
ranger.
weapon fighting as a class
Actually, no.
ability. You know, it's just a thought.
That's good out there. The ranger
And the
goes.
ambidexterity non-weapon proficiency.
Ambidexterity, 2 weapons, see in the dark, You go first.
Yeah.
No, wait.
Very dangerous. You guys go first.
This is
Yeah.
this is a standard spiral staircase, and like all spiral staircases, the middle of the staircase gets in your way when you try and swing with your right hand.
Yes.
I'm going to take out my crossbow.
Okay.
Lucian, after you.
Wait,
Right.
I'm going.
Sure
Don't,
you
don't
wanna
make
go
me stand
first?
here and prick you with a dagger.
You're the one with all the excellent scouting abilities. I'm not in my element here. You sure you want me to go first?
Yes.
Okay.
Why am I going second to last?
I don't know.
Because
Tell you what, would
someone
you
needs
like
to
to go in
look
front
after
of
the people
Twiddle?
in the
Just
middle.
noticed that for some reason, somewhere down the line, I have revealed an area that is not supposed to be revealed yet.
We were just ignoring it.
So I will.
Yeah.
I don't know when and how I did that.
I don't know.
Um,
You obviously sneezed with
so
access
I've-
to the
I've just-
polygon reveal.
Yeah, something like that.
But please note, we were all just being
Yes.
utterly gentlemanly
Well,
about
well
it.
done for ignoring it. Not so well done for not pointing it out to me.
Well, I didn't want to,
Yeah.
make you look incompetent on stream.
You don't need to do that. I do it perfectly well for myself.
I thought that someone had seen it from the outside, so
No, that's fair enough.
Let's have.
Okay, so I will
So I'm leading the charge.
teleport
Yeah.
you to the top of the stairs there, since you're going
how much
first.
health do I currently have? Because I don't seem to have that.
Oh.
Now you're asking awkward questions.
Yeah.
Without watching back the previous episode, I'm
Yeah,
not
no,
sure.
for some reason the
I
notepad
showed the
file that I had all my
VOD
stuff has
of
gone
everything
blank.
before now
Oh.
this afternoon, but I was working at the
We're all
time, so I didn't get to watch it.
squeezed.
Sorry.
Because I remember taking damage, but then I don't remember if we healed that.
We
Well,
didn't sit down and heal up. I've taken damage too, and that hasn't.
Yeah.
We
If
just kind of ploughed on, and then we didn't really sit down to rest up at all.
if it becomes important,
taken
if you decide to get
quarter
into
of
a
my
fight,
hits.
then I will be generous and I will let you fight at full hit points until I can ascertain what level you should be at, and I'll correct you between sessions.
I've missed a quarter of my hit points. I'm on
Yeah,
6.
the notepad file that I had all my stats on somehow deleted itself,
Vanished. Ah, well.
or its contents
In
anyway.
in future, I'll try
Damn
and
bot.
actually remember to keep a note of your hit points on my OneNote file that I'm keeping
Yeah.
the plot on. I haven't actually been tracking your hit points. I've only been tracking the plot and your
Yeah.
basic stats. Yeah, apologies to anybody watching for the fact that this is not a very well prepared game, but
It's the first time back.
We-
First day
yeah.
of term's always wafty.
First day
it was ill prepared even before we broke over Christmas. So it's just been an ill prepared game from the beginning, but it's a fun system and a fun
Kisrun,
setting. And
welcome.
what the
Thank you
hell?
for the follow. Thank you. I hope I've been saying your name right.
Hello, Kisman.
And I would have to agree with Meki, who says that the fact that Lucian didn't die yet is miracle enough.
Yeah, I think I'm on 5 HP. I vaguely remember
That-
5 being...
Something like that, yes.
Yeah.
Less than full.
Yes, not enough, I think is the
Yeah.
term you're
'Cause
looking for.
I've taken damage, I think it's 3 times in total during
Yeah.
the story, but I think we healed enough at one point.
I think you got lucky after the
Pardon?
carrion
What,
crawler.
sailors?
Or you got lucky during the carrion crawler incident because you got paralysed and then didn't take any further damage because it was concentrating on the people that were still trying to kill it,
That's true.
if I
Yep.
remember correctly. So the stairs lead up to... This is something that you possibly could have seen from below if you'd been paying more attention and not using infravision. But that even
They
so...
couldn't have been using infravision. Lucian was going up.
No, you were using
to the
infravision when initially exploring the building.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
What you've got is the ceiling of the floor below is a plaster ceiling.
Uh-huh.
None of you have looked at the ceiling, particularly up until now. But now it becomes obvious as you go up the staircase, because you're coming into sort of close proximity to it, that this is a plaster ceiling. And as you travel further up, over the top of that plaster ceiling are wooden floorboards.
Oh,
So
no.
up on this the first floor or second floor, depending on where in the world you come from.
First floor.
First floor for you guys, I know. You've got a wooden floor here. It seems to be in fairly good condition. It's nice, by the look of it, oak floorboards.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's
even
good
so, it's been here a long time, hasn't been maintained. You might want to be a bit careful.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
I
Try
say,
and work on
to
the
your knowledge, it's
joists.
probably been here a couple of 100 years as best you can estimate, and 200 years for an oak floor is nothing.
And
That's
as a
amateur
carpenter, can I get any more idea as to how safe we're likely to be?
Good point. Yes.
Yeah, as a carpenter, you certainly can. So a brief examination of the staircase itself and the area immediately around it as you're going up. This is indeed a good piece of work. It's sturdy, it's made of nice solid wood, and you can also, as a carpenter, you can tell that the wood was well chosen. It wasn't just the first lump of tree that they found. This is work that has been done by a master craftsman who has taken time to assess the available materials and get the best materials for it. So it's still in very good condition. The stairs creak a little bit in parts, but there's no danger of them collapsing underneath you unless you first start hitting them with an axe or something. The floorboards upstairs are much the same. You've got a nice sturdy floor. There may be places where something has caused damage, and that's going to be the problem rather than just the age, because if it's been damaged a long time back, that's going to be given an opportunity for age to make it worse. But the age alone will not cause you problems on these floors.
Okay. Right, the floor's in pretty good shape. There might be some damage that will cause problems, but mostly the floor's in pretty good shape. Just be a little bit careful where you stand. If in doubt, stand where I stand. Just not at the same time, because that'll get weird.
So, sounds like a plan to me.
You can just stand on your shoulders.
Yeah,
Not you.
yeah, because
You
that's
could
an
carry me.
excellent way.
Yes, the guy in chainmail standing on anyone's shoulders is a really bad idea. Don't.
Well, if you want to get downstairs really quickly.
That's
I
a
can
very
do a quicker way to get in
specialist and quite
downstairs.
expensive form of massage. Yes, we get a man in
Okay.
chainmail to walk up and down your spine. It's really very good for you.
Okay. It's great for the guy in chainmail.
The bone breaker massage.
That's the one.
3 XPs. Every little breeze. Right.
So, we've got 2 doors, if I see this right, coming out of here.
Yes, you've got a door map south and a door directly opposite you map west. Otherwise, this room is empty. Much
Right.
like the dining room downstairs, it looks like a room that should have things in it. The dining room, again, was empty apart from the table and chairs. It looked like it should have other things in it because that's what the way dining rooms work in expensive, high-end buildings like this.
How clean is the floor?
The floor is fairly clean, to be honest.
Not dusty.
It is dusty, but it's not hugely dusty because for there to be dust, there's got to be like airflow and stuff like that, and there really hasn't been here.
It's been closed up. Somebody
I was
left
hoping there
and
might be
not
some
in a
level
hurry.
of dust so I could look for tracks because.
Fish,
You can-
did you see Meki's message?
Oh, that's a very good point. Well
Would you
reminded,
shift things,
Mecky.
please?
Cock up. That's more like it.
Cheers,
Sorry
Mac.
about that, stream.
I was wondering if I could look for any signs of people
Passage?
that have
Right.
been here recently rather
Yes.
than what happened to the originals.
You most certainly
what is
can.
the state
Time
of
for
the
me to look up the
walls?
tracking
it-
proficiency.
And hello, Tokes Telly. Good evening to you.
Hello.
Right, so we are dealing with a wooden floor, so that's a 0 modifier.
Now, don't forget, as a Sea Ranger, I get
Okay.
all this stuff at half
Yeah, it's
on land. So I've got stuff all chance of doing this.
well, I wouldn't say stuff all, just not as good. You're kind of almost on a par with non-rangers, to be honest. It's normally a wisdom check. In your case, it's half wisdom check. Non-rangers, even if they have the tracking proficiency, use wisdom at -6. So it just kind of puts you on a par with non-rangers who have learned to track.
Just in case you're feeling guilty, that would make me rolling at 3.
Yeah, there you
Right.
go. So, what is half your wisdom?
7.
7. I know what the modifiers for this are. Roll a d20 and let me know what you get.
5.
Right, okay.
Well done.
Examining the wooden floor, even though there's not a lot of dust, there is just enough that you can find traces of movement to and from the staircase. It's
I was
difficult
about to do that.
difficult to tell how recent,
It's okay,
because
which door?
the conditions in here are slightly throwing you, because you don't know how long it's taken for the dust to build up, so therefore it's hard for you to tell whether this is recent travel or it was quite some time ago and there just hasn't been any significant dust build up since. But there hasn't been any significant dust build up since, so it could be anywhere from 50 years to 10 minutes ago. And there is movement in the direction of both doors.
Great. Doesn't even tell me which way is most likely. Okay.
Fantastic. Where to, boss?
Got Prince going to both doors. Take your pick.
I'm
And
going to go
it's-
straight ahead.
It's
Okay.
multiple trails
I'm
that
going
are
to take the
mixing with
south
one
door.
another. So you're not talking about a person has explored this. You're talking about a number of people have probably gone back and forth from this trail.
Right. I'm going to
Neatly.
try and stand pretty much equidistant between both doors. So if something nasty comes through either one, I can kind of launch in the direction of the threat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm going to check the door itself. Is it
I'm
locked?
listening.
Is it?
I'm just going to block the stairs, like a nice person. So when we all need to run away.
Oh, don't worry. If we need to run away, we'll go through you.
Yep. Through, over, round. Probably over. Doing.
Boingy.
Haven't heard that in a while. Can't say I've missed it.
Everyone on my stream just heard it.
Is that still on the soundboard?
It's still on my soundboard.
I am so glad. How come your entire computer has gone into meltdown? You still have access to freaking boingies.
It's the most important sound.
Okay.
It's the sound effect equivalent of cockroaches.
So, are you organising? Are you coordinating your efforts here in any way, or are you just each going to a door off your own bat? And for each of you, are you listening at the door? Are you examining the door? Are you just opening the door?
I'm checking if it's locked, and I'm listening.
I'm listening, and then I'm looking for traps.
Should I hide my lantern so that the
Actually,
night
that's not a bad
or
idea.
whatever vision is better?
Hmm.
Yeah.
That might be an idea.
Yeah,
Although, to be
cover
fair,
on
it's a fairly standard hooded lantern. You can just lower the shutters on it to prevent light coming out.
In that
and,
case, I
and
shall do
Totes, we
that.
tried that last time, but the Cavalier found us, and we had to explain in very, very careful terms how it was okay that we were keeping the loot that we found.
Yes.
I suspect future instances will be, yeah, there's just one coin here. There you go. And we'll wait till he's asleep before we go
Now,
on the rest.
what you do is you have to gauge what seems a reasonable amount. The smaller the container, the less coins you have to own up to.
Yeah.
Hello, Gigas Monkey. Welcome aboard. This is a multi-stream. Let's just type that into chat so you can see the link. It's also going out on Lady Baruran and Nightbite's channels.
My stream is down.
Oh,
I
yeah,
have
so it's
too
no
much
longer
drop
going out
thread.
on Baru's channel because she stopped
Very
loading.
good.
Probably should change that multi-stream link.
Yeah. Fish, where do I stand on listening?
Right. Where do you
With my
stand on
ears?
listening? You stand right next to the door and you put your ear up against it. And what you hear is going to be determined by an intelligence check in this instance. So D20
I
equal to or
hate
less than
you.
your intelligence.
Right, let's try one of the new dice.
And the same please from you, Badu.
This
What dice did you
reasonable
need?
intelligence.
D20?
D20. Yes. Intelligence 13. I rolled a 12.
I don't know what my intelligence is, but
Your intelligence is 13.
I rolled 11.
Okay, so you both make your rolls. Listening at the door, you hear near silence. The same kind of near silence that you've heard every time before, but with a subtle twist. In this case, you also hear, in your case, Twittle, the scraping quietly of wood on wood as something in the room is moved.
Uh-huh.
And in your case, Druttercup, you hear the clink of metal on metal. Could be somebody dropping a coin into a bowl. It could be the sound of a sword on your sword hilt on chainmail. Metal on metal is the best that you can come up with.
Yeah.
Wainscraft, thank you for the follow. Thank you. Could I ask you to repeat for my benefit what Twittle said, because I actually missed it because my alert went off.
Sorry, was that what Twittle heard?
It's wood scraping on wood is what I can hear.
Wood on wood.
Sound of wood on wood. Sounds like somebody maybe slightly shifting a piece of furniture.
Okay. I am going to indicate behind me. Which hopefully Carp at least is the other competent one. Who doesn't fall over as soon as Carrying Crawler looks at us. And I'm going to draw a dagger. Sorry, I'm not.
I
I'm
still
going to
have
draw my rapier. I don't trust these guys.
I have my crossbow out. I'm going to move to the side of the door and slowly open it. It's pointing my crossbow inside.
Okay.
I like this.
So we're going to go 2 for 2. Two on each.
So
yeah.
Based on the
I think possibly I might be best going with the metal on metal, if that was if you indicated that to us.
Yeah.
Because
Someone's there. Stab me.
I'm going
We
to
kind of have the
say
problem that I
that
can't
is
fight
probably
without a
what will be
lantern.
revealed
So
there.
fight with a lantern. Or put it on the ground.
is that? Oh right, yeah.
That's
Oh,
an
there's
option.
someone in there.
Let's just do a quick shift ping so that the stream can see properly what Twittle's door opening reveals. And Drut, what was Shrine doing while this is happening?
Shrine, is when Carp comes up behind her, is going to open her door.
Just opening it?
Crack it.
Crack it.
Does the person in the room notice that the door opened?
I
Probably
will
there's a lantern out.
Hopefully not.
come to that in a moment.
He's being sadistic again.
A person in such an environment probably isn't good.
They must be a thief.
That's
All right.
probably about all you can get by cracking the door because of the positioning of it in the room.
Oh.
I'll have to swing my sword
Right.
for justice.
Oh, look.
So, as the
Great
two of you
bubble.
are looking through your doors,
Mm-hmm.
the people that you are seeing, pretty much one description will work for both of them, so I will give you that one description. What you are seeing is a human in leather armor, which has been dyed solid black.
Oh, this isn't good.
They have a sort of a bandana style mask tied around the lower portion of their face.
Seriously?
Seriously. Each of them has a long sword in hand, and you can see a short sword belted at their waist alongside the scabbard for the long sword. Each of them is also looking straight at the door when you crack the door open. So yes, in both cases they have definitely seen
Okay.
what's happened. at this point, I think it might be a good idea if we rolled some initiatives.
Right, remind me, D10 modified by reaction?
Right, it is indeed a D10 modified by your reaction adjustment for dexterity.
And then your weapon speed.
And then, well, for the moment, we're just going to go with straight initiatives. We'll ignore weapon speed for now.
Not a problem.
When you are properly in combat, it's declaration of action before initiative, and then your weapon speed is taken into account. Because until you've actually said, I'm attacking with my axe, you don't know what weapon speed you're
Am
using.
I rolling even though I'm not?
I rolled a 7.
I think I'd like an initiative from everybody, yes, because this is going to determine how, who reacts when. From where
the reaction adjustment goes as a negative.
Yeah, from where you're standing, Mark, you can't really see through either door, so you're purely based on the reaction of the two characters concerned. So, do either of you make any vocal or physical immediate response to the fact that the people in these rooms have clearly seen you?
Hello.
Hello. Okay, I was thinking maybe more along the lines of shit, but hello works.
I tried to
Greetings and salutations.
I'm hoping to flummox them enough when they go, what?
I'm
in order to gain some
that might work.
Okay,
my
Barry,
body
you were saying.
language switches from being sneakily opening the door with my crossbow to actually actively aiming
straight
at
into actually
something
aiming
in the
at the
door.
guy that you've seen.
I
Yes.
rolled 9 initiative.
And that's what you guys can see, that I'm actively aiming at something.
Okay. I
So
have
body
cunningly got a
language, James.
pencil but not a pad. Hang on a moment.
Well done.
Told you
my
I was
initiative, by
ill
the way,
prepared for this.
my initiative, by the way, was 3.
I don't care till I've got something to write it down on.
Right. Touchy.
Right, now I've got something to write it down.
Yes, that's it. Piss off the GM just as you're about to go into combat.
Yeah, always a good plan.
A cunning ploy.
Yes.
Right, so yes, let's go along in the order that I've got you on my screen. So Baru.
I had a 7 rolled.
Okay, and presumably you don't know what your reaction modifier is, so I will have to just quickly check that for you. You have got a 17 dexterity.
Bloody hell.
So-
That's 2, I think.
I've
Might
now
well be.
forgotten what you just said you'd rolled. 7, was it?
7.
Right,
7.
so that gives you a 5. Drat.
3, but that's including my reaction
That's with
adjustment.
reaction adjustment. Okay, Knight.
2, no reaction adjustment.
Ooh. And Robinson.
I rolled 9, so
9, and you have got a dex of 13, which means no reaction adjustment, so that's just a straight 9. So you're reacting last.
as per usual, and it makes sense.
Right, so, Knight, the doors have been cracked open. Shrine has said hello. Out of the corner of your eye, you can also see Twittle suddenly raise her crossbow and aim it at something inside the room. What are you going to do?
There's no way in hell I'm going to try and cross Twittle's line of fire, because that's a good way to get a crossbow bolt in the back. I'd have to push Shrine to get out of the way to the guy that she said hello to, but she's only said hello. They might be friendly. I can't see them. Is it possible to hold my action?
It is entirely possible to hold your action. Yeah.
Then I would like to hold my action until I can see what's going on.
Okay. The way I'm going to do this, because I'm using initiative in a slightly odd way at the moment, this isn't really the first round of combat. What I'm going to do is your held action. Should this come to combat, if Drut's hello doesn't manage to avoid it, then I will give you an initiative bonus on the first round because of your held action.
Okay.
So, next in line is Shrine. So, Drut, you can see this guy.
Well, having seen this one guy and said hello, I am going to fling the door open. If there's anyone hiding behind it, I sincerely hope to smack them.
Let's only give their nose a
Hi!
You broke my nose.
Yep. I'm blinking.
I think that's a bit like you sunk my battleship.
Sank my battle. Shit!
No, battleship.
I take it. There's only 2 of them. It's fine. There's only 2.
Okay,
I've
let
got 2
me
axes. It's fine. One each.
let me
Uh,
just
yeah.
shift
Free.
ping here.
I see 3. Wait.
Come on.
I see.
There's
a
more people in the
literal
room.
There we go. Let me
buttload.
just shift ping here so that the stream can
Guys.
see what's going on.
There's also more in the room, Ahmed, if you check the border at the...
We're doomed.
The
No, we're not.
I count
We're
at least
not.
5.
They
the
might
new
be on that
guy,
level as well.
the new guy clearly revealed is dressed and equipped like the first one.
Mm-hmm.
The guy you can see the edge of in the on the battle mat. Obviously, it's not that you can see somebody's foot.
Yeah.
You can see that there is another guy with the same gear there. He's just right on the edge of your vision and sort of. He's not standing stock still, so he's slightly moving in and out as he's actually peering to try and get a look through the door himself. So you can sort of see somebody who is watching what's going on. And again, same gear, same equipment.
Yep. You're right. We're fucked.
No, we're not. There's only 2 of them.
There's 3 of them. Never mind.
Oh yeah.
There's
There's
only
a total of
5
5
in the
of them.
building.
There'll only be 2 in a minute. Don't worry.
It's like that old joke, isn't it, about the force that was under siege from something out there in the mists. And first one soul warrior goes out to deal with whatever's out there and doesn't come back. And then a second one goes out, doesn't come back. Third one goes out, doesn't come back. Fourth one goes out sometime later and crawls back eventually to the gate, mortally wounded, completely screwed over. And as his dying words as he reaches the gate, "Don't go out there, there's 2 of them."
Oh God.
Yeah, that's
Right.
about right.
Yeah, Baru, you were saying.
I'm motioning Robinson to back me up.
Okay, well,
And
it is
I'm
indeed
also opening the door more so I can see everyone in the room,
right. Well,
keeping my crossbow raised.
let me reveal a bit more of the room.
So
I'll
we see that Barry's got 4 people in her room. But it's okay, you've got a crossbow, you can shoot one of them.
that. And Robinson can see in this direction, so we
Okay.
will
Is this 6 total?
just reveal a bit there based on what he can see.
Whoa!
And then
Okay.
again,
I was
the
joking.
stream hasn't yet seen what you guys can see, so let me just. Now,
I was
suppose-
joking.
okay, helps if I shift ping rather than caps lock pinging. That's now what has been
We are
revealed
screwed.
in the second room.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Can I say something about this? In the Netherlands we call this a barefoot opener, which means opening a pit full of shit.
That seems like a very reasonable description.
Someone opened Pandora's box.
Well, like opening a pit and finding a lot of what the fuck inside it.
Yeah.
I apologise to the stream, by the way, for the fact that Baru's icon looks identical to the bad guys. On my screen, on Roll20, those of us that can actually zoom in and see, hers is labelled PC, whereas the others are labelled NPC. There's just a generic token for the moment.
That's awesome, Darth Jazz. Sorry to interrupt again, Fishy, but that is really awesome. Darth Jazz said that his son found his books when he was 6 and got obsessed. Now he's 12 and running 5th edition for his friends.
Brilliant.
That's cool.
Absolutely
is-
brilliant.
Love
That's
it.
cool.
Yeah. My only criticism with that is that it's 5th edition. But we're not going to get into
point.
edition wars here. That's a
Yeah,
bad
it's a
thing.
starting
No,
point.
no, no.
He's in the hobby. That's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. He's in.
Any game is better than no game.
I'm
He's doomed.
I'm taking a step a slight step back out of instinct and
That's a plan.
being
Okay.
shocked out of my mind by this.
I just have this image of Shrine now stepping forward and saying, "Candygram for Mr. Mungo."
I'm an ace away, I have to say.
After the opening of Hello, it's entirely possible.
I
I'm
think
sorry,
though,
are you
if
supposed
we
to
all-
be here?
Right. You've had your
Yeah, for
your go.
class.
Shut up.
You didn't say anything when you threw the door open. You were too busy going, "Oh shit."
Yeah. Actually, I said hello and flung the door open.
Yeah, you said hello before you threw the door open.
Was it?
Yeah, because that was your immediate reaction when you cracked the door open and saw the guy
yeah.
looking at you. You said hello,
Oh.
then you threw the door open afterwards. So,
Yeah, okay.
before we get to
Guys,
Lucian,
I think
who
we
has-
crashed someone's party.
Lucian, who has a crappy initiative, they get to do something.
Sorry.
And what they do,
Just run away.
Is-
Surrender. Surrendering would be nice.
the guys in the south room, this guy over here sort of hurdles over the bed to stand behind his companion. The one over on this side steps in, so that they're now they're not actually in a column as such. They're in a quite tight group. So they
Lined
look
up for
like
easy access.
they
I
could.
have never wanted a pole arm so much in
Yeah,
my
they
life.
look like they could mob you from this position.
Oh, good.
They're not well positioned for wielding longswords. Not even the D&D version, which is actually an arming sword. Remember.
Do they actually look
I-
hostile or friendly towards us or neutral?
It's hard to
What-
tell. They're
what-
wearing masks. You can't see their faces.
Yeah, they're
So-
dressed basically like me, only with masks on.
Yeah, they're not well positioned for wielding longswords, but they're very well positioned now for literally just mobbing you, just diving in and maybe muscling you to the
Kidnapping us.
floor or bullying you into the corner of the room. Some sort of non-fencing type attack looks to be the
I've-
way they are lining up over there. In
Why,
the other
why
room-
would I wish for lightning bolt?
This guy stops peering because he's seen there's definitely somebody there, and he steps in to support his friends like this. Another guy kicks that chair there out of the way as he steps in over there.
Fuck's sake. Basically,
And
who
make
listed more
me-
chips this week, Fish?
Make me a quick intelligence check, Drat.
Okay. Actually, let's do it with the right die. 6. So yes. make it
Okay,
my 7.
you hear from. I don't know whether whether the ping actually works through the fog of war.
Yes, it does.
It does, right. Well, I will shift ping because the stream couldn't see where I did that. You hear from over here in the area that you can't see yet. Again, the sound of wood on wood, rather louder than you heard it before, indicating that there would
Awesome.
seem to be at least one more person there who has just moved a piece of furniture.
Great. We've just walked into.
None of them has said anything. All of them are armed. They already had
Mm-hmm.
swords in hand, which would seem to indicate they knew you were coming.
We hadn't really been overly quiet.
Can
Not really.
And
no.
at this point, I would like Robinson to make me an intelligence check.
Oh God.
An intelligence check.
Yes, Lucian's intelligence, if you don't know it, is 14. He's actually pretty smart. He
He's
may not
smarter
be
than
wise, but he
Shrine.
is quite smart.
Why should they not dead?
The reason I'm using intelligence
I-
checks when
can
I
I
said
see
wisdom
this?
earlier on, by the way, is because what you're doing is not really do I hear something. It's do I filter out from the noise that's going on the specific thing that the GM wants to know if I've identified.
I need to roll the same or lower, right?
You need to roll that or lower.
can I see
On
in
a
the
D20.
room
That's
what
a
the
relief.
source is
Not 14.
of the wood on wood?
Sorry, what was
the noise?
that, Baru?
Can I see and recognize in the room what the source is of the noise that we were hearing? The wood on wood?
Right. You would guess that what you initially heard was one of them either bumping into or possibly standing up from either a chair or bed, because you can see in this room 3 chairs, a desk, another fireplace, and a couple of beds. They are old but sturdy. Again, they're plain like the stuff in the room you originally went into. They look to still be serviceable, however. The beds are just wooden slatted, so there's no mattress of any kind on either of them.
Quite, Drut, quite.
No, that is very true. You have no magic of either kind available to you in this
No,
party at
nothing.
the moment.
You are our current only source of clerical magic, and that's not until you hit 5th level. Or 4th level, possibly.
So,
Right. And even then you'll be able to,
they do.
find animal.
And
Friend fish.
as you're
I did that years ago.
Yeah.
as you're seeing these people come into view in either direction, and probably not panicking in the slightest, knowing Lycian, but thinking, yes, an opportunity to test my mettle and show how bold and brave I am, you hear the sound of a footstep, a quite loud footstep. But it's clearly somebody made a misstep. It's not just a standard I am walking. It's, oh damn, I've made a misstep, my foot's come down quite hard because I'm correcting my, stopping myself falling or something like that, at the foot of the stairs.
Oh, for fuck's
So
sake.
that's what Lucian hears. Behind him from the foot of the stairs, the sound of at least one more person. What is he now doing? It's his initiative.
Oh, God.
Oh dear, we're in a bit of a sticky situation, aren't we?
Yeah.
Is there, if I like move
Our
ever
fate
so
is in
slightly
Lucian's hands.
up here, can I like be on a sideways position where I can see the stairs and what's going on over there?
To be honest, I think the answer to that is yes. You pretty much can. The only problem is that in order to be able to see, you pretty much will never be able to see this room, the one that Drut is looking into.
Yeah.
You can see, you can position yourself so that you can see down into Twittle's room, effectively to your right. However, the better your view of that room, the less well positioned you are to hold the staircase. Spiral staircases were originally invented for the single purpose of allowing one man to stop any number of people coming up them.
So
Or
you're
one
actually in
woman
an
to stop
ideal
any number of
position.
people coming up them. Because
Yep.
the way it works, quick explanation for those who don't know, this is a historical fact. The way they work, because of the way they arc, which is always going basically anti-clockwise, your right-handed swordsman can swing or thrust down the stairs with no trouble whatsoever. Up the stairs, your right-handed swordsman hits the centre of the staircase, and it gets in his way and interferes with his ability to fight. So this means that standing at the top of a spiral staircase, a standard right-handed swordsman can hold off people trying to come up extremely well. That was why castles had spiral staircases. And you're in a perfect position to be able to do that. But if you step back far enough to be able to see well into the room to the south, you lose that defensive position.
I guess I'll prioritise the defensive position.
Good call.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you basically stand on the top step where you are in a position to thrust unencumbered at people coming up. Anybody coming up will have both an armor class and to hit penalty because of the staircase.
Is there like some kind of noble, knighty phrase for requesting someone to identify themselves?
Not a
Don't
specific
surrender now.
noble knighty.
I'm going to declare this a victory.
Stand forth and name thyself.
Yeah, knightly language can tend to be a little bit flowery, but that whether they are as flowery at this point, or whether that's just that it gets adjusted slightly by the time it's told to a bard to be written down or turned into a song, is anybody's guess. Maybe interpose a few these and thous. Otherwise, who the heck, that works fine.
Identify yourself.
You could of course go with the
Identify
the standard halt who goes there. It's a classic,
You can't knock a classic.
but yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
you
I
can.
don't really have
As-
time to Google it.
Oh, have we lost Baru? Oh no, we're all right.
No,
It just froze for a moment.
no, it's fine here.
It's a bit iffy.
it'd be like something like "Speak now thee and identify thyself," wouldn't it?
Yeah,
In
that would be fine.
flowery
Speak
Shakespearean
ye.
style.
Speak ye now.
Speak thee.
Ye.
Yes, because you have to put the ye or thee in the
Identify
wrong place.
thyself.
It's speak ye or speak thee now, and
I'm
identify
reading forward the
thyself.
older comics.
Yes.
Right, so
Oh
What
shit.
is thy purpose?
not going to re-roll initiative at this point, but I am going to jump back to the two who rolled stonkingly well on initiative, which is Knight and Drut. You
Okay.
hear behind you. You hear the footstep because he's in chainmail, so you hear the clink and thunk of him stepping into position at the top of the stairs, and speak ye now and identify thyself. Clearly not aimed. He's slightly muffled. He's facing away from you when he says it. That's quite clear to you. Are either of you going to do something before he gets a response?
No.
No.
He's got
Right.
this. He's fine.
I kind of feel like I'm
A
being
rating
left to
is
die.
kind of something that he is
He
supposedly
does.
quite good at. He's been taught.
Yeah.
He's a squire.
So,
Yep.
He's got this whole knightly thing down.
from the bottom of the stairs, then,
You.
comes the response, I am the man who is in a position to save your lives.
Well then, why didn't you say so, sir?
Put up your weapons and allow me to climb, and we will talk about this.
I didn't think he was quite that psychotic.
I do not trust this person, but I
What
have
kind
my
of voice
focus
does
on
he
the
have?
stairs, but I still have my.
Male, possibly middle-aged, probably human. That's about as good as you can get.
Is it rough?
I'm still keeping my.
And well-spoken.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
still
If he's
keeping
well
my
spoken, then
crossbow
obviously he's a nice chap. I'm going to
God.
my sword.
Okay, so you put up your sword and presumably stand back slightly, and a man climbs to just far enough up the stairs that he can see into the whole room and see all of you, and you can sort of see his head and shoulders if you're looking in that direction. I would imagine at least a couple of you are paying lots of attention to the men in the rooms as well.
Yes.
Here.
I am.
Yes.
Right. What you see
I am-
is a man who, unlike these guys, is not masked. He does, however,
Okay.
have an eye patch over his left eye, and
for
a
goodness
quite nasty-looking scar running above and below it.
Bloody Travis.
He is
Either Travis or Jarlaxle.
probably, rough guess, he is probably in his early 30s, which is at least middle-aged for this environment.
And for that career choice, by the looks of it.
And before the scarring, was probably quite an attractive man. He has dark brown hair, apart from a silver streak where the scarring meets the hairline. Obviously a result of the previous damage. Yep, see, Meki called it. Odd number of eyes. Well done, Meki.
I really do. Well done.
You know, this is a slightly weird way of going about things, but I think I'm actually going to give you a brownie point die earned by Meki. The first time I've issued a brownie point die earned by a viewer, not a player.
Yeah, I think there's 19, not 17 though.
Oh, do you really?
But he
have
was
to
still
count?
damn close.
It was.
He was, yeah.
Damn close.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
So you can see, because you can see shoulders down, you can see that he is wearing a cloak. And underneath that cloak, he is wearing blackened chain, which doesn't make a lot of noise as he moves. Not to the elven chain level of doesn't make a lot of noise, but to the expensively created with padding and straps to prevent it from making too much noise. All of which goes totally, if he starts running in it, that's it. The stealth goes out the window because it's knackered. But for the moment, this is armor that has been modified for stealth. You can't
He's
see
looking
him
more
well enough to
suspicious.
see anything like weapons, with the possible exception of Lucian, who is closer to the stairs and can see more of him. Lucian, you can see that he has a fairly standard longsword scabbard at his belt, but it does not have a sword in it, and he does not appear to be holding a sword, as far as you can tell.
Now I'm even
He's-
more worried.
As he comes into view, he raises both his hands in a not a gesture of surrender, but a gesture to show that he has nothing in them.
Parlay.
My
I
name.
am
Sorry, carry on. You were saying?
nah, carry on.
My name is not important to this situation. What is important is that I have 10 men on the upper floor of this building and a further 10 at my back. Those below have crossbows, so even if you somehow defeat me and my men upstairs, you will never leave the building alive. Your only sane option at this time is to surrender yourself to me.
If I'd wanted to fight, Gov, I'd have already started.
Good to see that you are sensible.
But what are your intentions here? It's the most important.
My
thing.
intentions...
Why should
I have
why
no
should
interest
we
in you.
trust you?
Because he could already have turned this into bait.
I have no interest in you at all. My business is with your employer. What I cannot allow is for you to report my presence back to him.
Ah.
Small payment will sort that out.
Well,
You took the words right out of my
were it
mouth.
not for Squire Einhart here, I would be inclined to take you up on that offer, but I don't believe I can trust him to take the payment.
Lucian,
Cancel that
where
out
does
too.
your loyalty lie now? Your lord is dead.
Good question.
He doesn't actually have a lord as such. His mentor.
It
His-
lies with
the knight
justice.
to whom he was squire.
Bear in mind,
like
she's
a-
Yeah.
Just at the bottom of the river.
Justice is a bad situation for you at the moment. You might want to reconsider. All I ask, though, is that you not take any direct action. Now, if I believe I can trust you to do that, then you're free to go on your way. But I can't see a situation with that squire in your presence where I'm going to be convinced of that. The alternative, therefore, is that I leave you here under guard until after my business is concluded.
Why should we trust what you're saying?
Because if he wanted to kill us, he would have already. He's got us distinctly outnumbered.
If you can justify your actions, then I'm willing to follow your request.
May I ask, what are your intentions towards our erstwhile employer?
He is an upstart and a
Fatal?
fool, and he needs to be taught a lesson.
Are they fatal, or would it be suitable to simply drive him away?
My interest is with him.
Neutral good. Sorry.
Yeah. My interest is with him. My interest is not with this place. I care nothing for this place. So I'm afraid, yes, the odds of him living through today are extremely low. The question you have to ask yourselves is whether you want to join him in death. Cyric waits for you all.
Well, that's very good of him. However,
I'd rather he
My
waited a little longer than today.
our employer I have no great loyalty to, but there are innocent men there. Men who've only barely survived one encounter. Allow them to leave. Let them carry your message that you're not to be trifled with. I have no doubt you are absolutely correct, and we would stand no chance at defeating all your men. And certainly your men on the ground would then pepper us and we would be dead. But we could certainly inconvenience you.
Yes, well, that's why we're talking now. The less men I lose to you, the more I have to carry out my business.
Allow the men to flee. Give them a chance.
As I said, I have no interest in you or the rest of his men. My interest is with Gontil.
Then make that clear to them.
Any man who chooses to depart and not take action against me and my men will be allowed to depart.
I'll turn around and face him, just so I can at least see the guy that we're looking at.
I'm going to at least sheath my crossbow, but I'm going to keep at least my hands near my weapons.
You're not actually relaxing. You're just not pointing a
No.
crossbow at anybody anymore.
hmm So I'm sheathing my crossbow back onto my on my back, but I'm still keeping my hand on my belt where I keep my my sword and knife.
I'm not in too much of a hurry. I doubt Gontil will make any move until either you return or he has waited long enough to be sure you're not going to. So I can give you a few minutes. I will return downstairs. If you would care to close the doors up there to have a bit of privacy while you discuss this, you're welcome to do so. Just remember that at the first sign of trouble, we will assume that to be a refusal.
Your
Why don't you
position's
leave the door
clear.
open? Let your guys see us. That way.
If you want to do it
any
that way,
trouble
you are
happens.
welcome to do it that way. I just thought you might like to discuss this without thinking you were being overheard.
But we would be
So-
overheard anyway.
So
Door or no door, you can still hear us.
I'll be downstairs then. Just call when you've made a decision. In a show of either splendiferous bravery or utter contempt for you, you're not sure which, he turns his back and walks back down the stairs.
So the choice is
Damn it.
to technically abandon our loyalty to our employer, or just fight our way and with a high chance to die.
You see, I think for Karp and Shrine, the loyalty to the employer thing's already been a little bit dented by the decision we made in the carrion crawler there.
Yep.
And he's an arse, in addition,
Also true.
who didn't really
Your
show much
loyalty was
concern for the
initially
lost
dented.
men.
Yeah, your loyalty was initially dented when you realised that they knew about the dragon
And
You
hadn't
hadn't
told
warned
and
us.
anyone.
took the risk and didn't tell it, any of you.
Okay. If I can square this with my conscience, if he gives the men a chance to escape.
I've only just read it, Gigas Monkey. Unfortunately, Gontil is his last name, but I do like that one.
Yes, sorry, headed back up chat then. Yeah. Tomorrow. Sorry.
He might have a sister called Tamara, you never know.
What guarantees us that he is not going to come after us after he says he's going to leave us alone?
The fact
I
that he
don't-
hasn't
I'm
done
not-
anything already. If he was going to come after us, he'd have to track us down again. He's got us in a deadly position. If he was going to wipe us out, he'd do it.
I think if he wanted us dead, we would be dead. We're basically something spiky he could tread on. He doesn't want to hurt his foot. We're caltrops, that's about it. Oh, they'd kill him.
Right.
He's at it again.
Now I've got to remember how you add quotes to Phantom Bot. Is
It's
it
just
add
add
quote?
quote and type it in, isn't it?
Yeah.
I shall reholster my axes. I say holster.
So
They're in
what
groups, I think.
what is our choice? Are we going to just surrender and leave?
You can surrender, but I'm going to find my way.
Well, deep
Right.
breath.
And then later
Deep
I will
breath.
remember
Think
how to
about
set
this
that
for a
to be a
second.
gut, not me.
He is
Think
clearly
about
a
your
villain that needs to be defeated.
Lucian, think
Oh,
about
he
your
is.
think about your options for a second here. Think about them. In your view, he is clearly a villain. That's your view. We don't know what his beef is with the other guy.
Then he should have explained it when I asked.
Why? He doesn't need to explain anything. He's on
Gonzo.
whatever mission he's on. He's on whatever.
Only
drive he's
villains have things they need to hide. The
That's
hero
not
is
true.
open
In
about
that case,
everything.
Buttercup is a villain because she just went dark in her room.
Sorry. Sorry, I love voice controlled lights. Okay, Lucian. Your lord, and I use the term lightly, is dead as a direct result of Gontil not warning anybody that there was a dragon.
We
What
came
she
on this
said.
expedition knowing full well there was a high chance of death.
There was a full... Yes, once we got here, nobody mentioned anything about an extremely ancient, powerful entity that might simply decide to kill us for sport on the way. That is the sort of thing that gets
It's a
people
hero's
killed,
job
and
to
guess
die in the
what?
line of
It is.
duty.
No, it isn't. It's the
Dead
hero's
hero
job to
doesn't do any
survive,
bloody heroing.
get home, and father lots of little heroes.
This is true.
He who fights and runs away lives to fight another day.
But I can't run away. Running away is
Then don't.
shameful.
No one said it. Oh, okay, yes, you did say about running away.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, we don't have to run away.
No.
We can plough on forward with our scouting mission while they do whatever it is they're going to do behind us. We're not running away. We're doing our job. We just let them do their job at the same time. It's not rocket science. It's not magic. It's not tough things to think about.
I like that one.
Gavin, did you just see chat? Because of course I did.
Yeah, you did.
Yes, and I am.
I had forgotten, but you did.
I am going to try it.
Whip.
Yes. I
Okay.
suspect they're good for like one shot each.
This is something that should not work.
No, I know. sorry.
However, I am going to take a little dramatic license, and bear in mind that in order to do this, you will have to have a democratic agreement from the party, because that's the way these work. I'm going to
Yeah.
let it work if you spend a brownie point die. Not to
Right.
roll it, but just spend it to make this work.
Yeah.
So, if
I
at
vote
least 2 party members are in favour,
Okay. I can't remember because Barry wasn't here, of course. So I will tell her what I did. After
I
we
vote
killed the
nay.
carrion crawler, you don't get a vote. Well, you kind of do.
he does
You
get a
do.
vote, and I
But
was
yes.
assuming he would be voting
Yes.
nay.
Yes. After we took out the carrion crawler, I chopped out 2 of its tentacles, which are what carry the paralyzing sting, and I put them in my pack for eventualities. Didn't actually think I was going to be using one on my teammate. But on the other hand, if Lucian kicks off, he's going to get himself killed.
And it's
This
probably
is-
an easy way of doing it than I was planning.
Yeah, this is the way to take him down temporarily, without any long-term effects, and take the decision out of his hands. He won't die. He'll be pissed off at me, but he won't be dead.
Yet.
But we need to spend a brownie point to do it. So obviously my vote is aye.
As previously stated, my vote also is aye.
Because the rest of us is all for surrender and leave, essentially.
Yeah. Surrender, leave, regroup, figure out what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Essentially.
I do not wish to die.
No, that's not on my
Not
list.
knowing not what's down below or in
No.
these behind these doors.
No. If you're going to die, you're not going to die in a cave somewhere.
If you're gonna die, die with your boots on. No, wait, that's
I am
not what I want to do here. That's Lucian's stance.
I am not going to let any of my teammates get themselves killed.
Yeah. He's basically going
Right.
to kill himself.
So you've spent the brownie point die then. It's been approved. So this will work. You have still got to do it. So this is going to be
Yeah.
a surprise roll.
Okay.
I think at this rate we'll all be bloody surprised.
If it doesn't work,
Now-
you still have the option of the flat of the axe to the side of his head.
Elves,
Yeah, well,
elves get a bonus on surprise. I'm not
Right.
sure if half elves do. Would you like to look that up quickly, Drat?
I believe they do. Hang on.
Oh, is Lucian a half elf?
No.
This is my role.
No, she has a bonus to surprise people. I think as a or
Oh,
she
I
might
see.
have.
I think
Yeah.
I'm checking.
I could
I'm checking,
otherwise,
I'm checking.
I could otherwise knock him out with
Otherwise-
the back of my crossbow.
Oh, yeah, there's about there's 3 or 4 different ways.
If you want the
could
best
go
way
down.
of surprising him, of course, yeah, you just casually pass the carrion crawler tentacle to Twittle behind your back, and she, with her surprise bonuses,
Surprise.
Wait a minute, didn't she hack off 2? Give 1 to
I did.
Twittle.
Yeah.
And attack with the other one, while Twittle attacks with the other one. He's
I
gonna
don't
get slapped by
see.
tentacles from both sides.
I don't see bonus to surprise.
right? Okay, it may be a bonus against being surprised, and it may only be elves rather than half elves. But I
Yeah.
thought I would let you check that while I was reading
Is,
the
is,
surprise
it,
rules.
is it if I knock him out, does that do something?
Yeah, potential brain damage, but on the other hand, you'd notice.
Now D&D
Solution.
tends not to bother about things like brain damage.
No sleep and charm spells in provision.
That isn't the price anymore because he's standing right next to us, knowing what we intend to.
He doesn't know what we intend to.
Worst comes to the worst, I'll just boot him down the stairs, it'll snap his neck and he
This-
can recreate a character later on.
This is an out of character conversation about spending the brownie points.
Mhm.
I'm just explaining why it would be a really cracking
So-
idea to do.
Assuming that this is going ahead, then I need
Yeah.
Lucian to make a surprise roll, which is a D10 roll. On a 1, 2, or 3, you are surprised.
So wait, I roll a d10.
You roll a D10.
I rolled a 3.
Surprise!
Sorry.
So
Surprise tentacles! Flap!
he is
There's
busy
something
arguing.
wrong about this situation. The tentacles are supposed to go after the women.
He is
Please, this is so dramatically perfect. For the
busy
player.
arguing
This has
his
to-
case to Carps, who has been doing quite a lot of the talking as to you've been while you're giving that whole speech about continuing your scouting. And while this is happening, Lucian fails to notice Shrine just casually sidle round the bank until she's within arm's reach of him, with a carrion crawler tentacle dangling out of sight down one side.
There's something backwards about this tentacle rape.
What do you think I'm going to do with the damn thing? I'm sorry. They're clearly on very different pages.
Technically, Drut, you are not proficient with carrion crawler tentacle as a weapon. Unless you chose some really weird weapon proficiencies that I don't know about.
Do you have a
I kind
whip
of
weapon
want to make a
proficiency? Would
character
that be close enough to count?
tentacle now.
I nearly took whip as well.
Yeah, whip would actually count. I would allow that. However, as a warrior, you only have a -2 non-proficiency penalty.
So I'm making it a hit, am I?
So, Robinson is wearing chain,
Shit. Yeah.
and in this instance, the chain will count because if you
Yeah.
hit the chain and not exposed
doesn't
flesh, it's not going to do any good. So, let me just remind myself of what chain should be. I think it's 5, but I will double check.
Yeah.
Does he not get a deficit for being flat-footed, or is that a different system? Whoops.
He
Rolling
would,
my dice.
if this was 3rd edition or onwards, he would lose his dex bonus to armor class. In 2nd edition, he would still lose his dex bonus to armor class, probably. But since he
Yes,
doesn't
he
have
does.
one, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
She will, however, get the following bonus.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to go with Defender Surprised, funnily enough, which is a +1 to hit. And I'm going to go with Rear Attack, even though she's actually not quite from the rear, which is a further +2 to hit. So, taking off the weapon proficiency penalty, you have got a total of +1 on top of your
Roll high
normal
as
FACO.
possible.
You do have 3 D4 brownie point dice. You could add one of those, or you could convert 2 of them to a D6 to add. And you can make that decision after you've rolled, don't forget.
Gotta love house rules.
Yep.
Okay, let's see what happens.
Oh God,
This is all
Lazarus.
we're blowing through our brownie point dice to save Lucian's
but
life against
that's what they're
his
for.
will.
If you're playing well,
That's what
you're
they're for.
earning brownie
Yeah.
point dice at quite a rate, and there's a limit to the number you can have. So if they top out, they're not doing you
Yeah.
any good. You should be spending them.
Yeah.
Becky's having kittens.
Now look.
Is he
look
having
at
kittens or is he having little baby carrion
Lazarus
crawlers?
Well, I can just imagine the fan art he's going to produce for us on this one.
Oh yes, yes. I'm looking forward to the fan art from this episode.
Total of 18. Fish.
18. That's what armor class 1?
2, I think. I'm the +1.
Because you have
Yes,
a +1
this
to
is
hit.
19, yeah.
Or is that including the +1?
No, that's not including my +1.
Right. So yeah, that
So,
is
yeah.
armor class 1, which is considerably
Yes.
better than his armor class 4.
Wait.
Robinson, would you make me a saving throw against paralyzation, poison, or death magic, which for a first level fighter requires you to roll 14 or higher on a d20?
It's easy rolls a natural 20.
18.
Oh, shit.
Oh. Okay, so you can actually do something about this. Again, though, it's down to whether the party will go for it.
Yeah,
You
we
could
can
add a
roll
brownie point
points.
die to his required save.
Yeah.
He made his save by 4, which
2
means you would
would
need
do
at
it.
least a d6, and it would have to roll a 5 or a 6.
Yeah. What do you reckon, kids? In the interest of not having Carp attack his head with an axe.
To be honest, I've got to draw my axe before I do that because I had previously stated I was
Yeah.
reholful.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to. You know?
The unarmed combat rules do have a knockout chance, but it's quite low.
I'm in favour of blowing those last 2 dice for a d6.
You've got 3 dice left. You'd still have
Oh,
a d4.
2, oh, 3,
You'd
yeah.
still have a d4.
Yay from me.
We're still trying to keep him alive.
So you got 2 votes in favour. I'm assuming 1 vote against, unless Mark is working on the very sensible reasoning that this keeps his character alive without him needing to break his roleplay. So unless
Do we
You get a
have
vote.
unless Barrow vetoes it, it's going through.
do we have another way to restrain him?
Once
Not
we've-
without
an
him
easy one.
kicking off.
Not immediately, and not immediately we can use at this time.
No. We're not in a position to. If a fight starts,
I don't think he's going to let us tie him up
No.
and rope him
no,
in the time that we have available.
no. Which means he's either going headfirst down the stairs, or we start a struggle, which is likely to cause the watching thieves to kick off.
Although the fact that it's internal, they might just break out the popcorn.
They're Cyric worshippers. They may decide that we're trying to try something on with them.
Who is Cyric anyway?
Cyric
what
is
gods
the
of
god
death?
of death, essentially.
Oh wow, that sounds
There
lovely.
were-
These guys are definitely villains.
Before the time of troubles, there were a number of death gods, essentially. 3 of them died during the time of troubles, and a human assassin called Cyric assumed their portfolio. So he has the portfolio of the gods of murder, something else, and something equally else, all of which are nasty death gods.
How big is the chance that now, if we spend those brownie points, that he will
On the
actually
flip
be
side, if there was no
restrained?
death god and no one died, we'd have a serious population problem.
Yep.
True. If you spend those brownie points, you've got a 1 in 3 chance that this will put him down.
Yeah.
But it's
Well, one
rolled
in
by
3 is
Druck,
better
so
than-
And
that's
what
pretty
if
good.
what if it still doesn't put him down?
If it
Well,
still
then
doesn't
we
put
do
him down,
something else.
then he probably attacks you and you have to find an alternative.
Yes. Then we do something else and dogpile him.
Because either
But this
way,
is-
Shrine has made the attempt, which
Yeah.
means that if he doesn't go down, Lucian
Yeah.
will no doubt respond. Won't you, Lucian?
Yes, obviously.
Yeah.
There's backstabbing villains, even if they are claiming to be my allies, will be.
And I know it's not on your list of anime, but you really have to watch The Slayers.
Yes.
Because, is it Amelia, possibly? The princess who is a fighter for justice.
Yes.
She will give you so many ideas for playing Lucian.
If Lucian lives much longer.
Yeah.
If Lucian lives to be played in future sessions.
Having seen.
Well, that
this
would be an
attack-
interesting campaign goal, wouldn't it? Well, we had to kill the knight to avoid dying, but we feel really bad about it, so now we're adventuring to find the 10,000 gold pieces we need to get him raised deaded.
I'm spending the dice.
We're going with the
while
dice.
that action is happening, can I use that as an action to start drawing axes again, so that I'm ready for if it fails?
Yeah, you...
We're doing it, yeah?
well, roll me a d10, knight. If you roll a 1, 2, or 3, you're surprised by this, because you didn't notice what Shrine was doing.
Okay,
Otherwise...
D10. That's either a 10 or an 8. That's a 10.
Either way, that's not a 1, 2, or 3. So yeah, you're not surprised. And as this is happening, you start drawing your axes. Yes. Right. So who is going to roll the d6?
Can I?
Strut's action sounds fair.
That does seem reasonable, since it was you. I mean, it was you that took the action, but it's actually affecting Robinsen's saving throw. So you could say that it's up to him to roll it. But on the other hand, we can't see his dice. And he wants to not fall over. Not that I don't trust you, Mark. Technically,
I know, right, Mickey?
I think this one might just be worth rolling on Roll20. But let me...
No! Bloody RNG doesn't work on Roll20.
The RNGesus doesn't like Roll20, it's got to be said.
No, especially
tell you
not
what,
if you're
then,
anywhere near it.
Alternatively, if you
Can
want one
you-
that people can see, I can add a d6 to my dice pool.
I was going to suggest otherwise. Are you in a position to point your camera at your dice? Strut? Or would it be too much hassle to put back afterwards?
Hang on.
So I apologise that I don't have the dice tower and associated cam set up. Otherwise, I'd roll it. But even then you'd fail guaranteed if I were rolling it. So.
There, you see, I have a dice tower.
Oh,
Yeah.
the stress around this dice. Sorry,
Yeah.
this die. There's only one
This
die going.
I'm not looking.
We can't see it.
Have you
Oh,
rolled
shit,
it yet?
hang
I
on.
can't see a damn
Yes.
thing.
I heard
Hang
it
on.
drop.
Oh yes, there is.
That's
That's a
six.
6.
6. Booyah!
So yeah, your 18 save does not beat the 20
on.
that you needed. I so wish I had my soundboard today.
Can I just say, I was hoping so hard for that.
Oh, bet.
Does this mean I'm going to be face swapping the floor?
So
Hang on,
no,
where
what
am
this
I?
actually means is that you are paralysed.
Yes.
As you catch the movement out of the corner of your eye, you turn to see what Shrine is doing, and
Face full of
the
tentacles.
the severed tentacle of a carrion crawler, as you turn, smacks straight into your right cheek. And as you're raising your hands to defend yourself against whatever it is that you can see coming towards you, which you failed to do, everything just crawls to a halt. And for the second time in the last 2 hours, you are standing stock still with no real control over any of your limbs.
Okay.
Is any of us going to carry him? And
Right, so having just
From
got the
from
axes
both
out, ready for a
rooms,
fight.
you hear stifled chuckling.
Don't knock it, mate.
So he's
Ah.
safe. Right. Once again, put the axes away. Anyone got
Yep.
any rope?
Yes. Actually,
Well then.
Well, I did establish last time that I don't believe in the stone statue paralysis if it's not magical,
no.
which this isn't. So instead, he's lost control over his muscles. This makes him effectively a living bendy doll. You can position him and move him around however you want.
Okay.
But he is lost control over his muscles. This makes him effectively a living bendy doll. You can position him and move him around however you want. You can position him and move him around however you want. But he is lost control over his muscles. This makes him effectively a living bendy doll. You can position him and move him around however you want. but be aware that he is fully conscious and knows what you're doing. So
No, I'm a teapot.
I think I'm a bit too small to carry him.
Okay, how about we secure a rope under his shoulders and round his knees, and then we can sling him between the two
you
of
guys
us.
won't be able to hear this. Let me just check that. Yeah, the chat will be able to hear this. You guys won't be able to hear this, but
I just see Mickey's comments.
I'm pretty certain that Knight will trigger the same sound in his chat, because I'm sure he'll figure out what it was I just did.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know what you just did. I'm going to assume that's a sad trombone.
Yeah, that was the sad trombone.
If only I was female and two-dimensional.
No, really.
Enough of
This
that.
would be a much more enjoyable moment.
No.
Right. Would you like me to tie him up for you?
I think if you can secure him so he's not flopping around, so limbs stay where they're put rather than.
Would you like to
Flip.
ask one of these guys if they've got some sort of staff weapon that we could borrow for purposes of carrying in between us? Because I can just strap him to the middle of a long pole and we'll just carry him between two of us.
Don't suppose anyone's got a quarterstaff they're willing to lend me.
We got a couple of beds here if you just want some bits of wood.
That
I'll
works
do.
for me.
These guys are being way too helpful.
So we open the door again.
We'll tie him to a slat, it's fine.
I'm
These
going
guys
to
are
step
hired
aside.
thugs. You are adventurers. They don't
Yes.
know you're crap adventurers.
No.
You're in Undermountain. They assume you're tough.
Yes. They're idiots.
Yes.
Right.
I shall tie him to one of these things that we
But-
can then carry between us.
But they are all trying very hard not to laugh.
I am going to
So we, frankly.
Yeah.
use my tiny axe to at least get a bit of wood from
Yeah.
one of the beds,
Yeah.
and
Well-
maybe
use it
we
to
can
cut
use.
the side off.
The slats on the beds can just actually be removed. They're not nailed in or anything. They're just kind of like slotted into place.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
you can remove 2 or 3 slats and use them for whatever you want to do.
Do we have anything? Is there anything around to tie the slats together that they won't break
I
under?
believe that you have rope. If nobody's got rope already written down on their
I
character
have
sheet,
rope.
I'm going
I
to
have rope.
assume you have some.
Okay.
I have rope and rope use.
Yes.
I'm glad you have. I've just got rope. And a grappling hook. I'm seriously tempted to.
So
Nautical
We're-
based character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am going to while you two.
I won't forgive this stain on my
Okay, I
heroic
was going to
effort.
say
There
You're
was no
take care-
stain on your
take-
heroicness. You were perfectly heroic.
Yes.
while you two take care of the slats and make sure they won't bend under his weight.
Uh-huh.
I will not Robinson's wrists and ankles.
The Epic of Lucian, when it's being told many years in the future, will definitely omit this part.
No. This is the time that his travelling companions turned on him.
Yes, yes. It'll be a very brief episode within the epic. Yeah.
So
And at that
I'm-
time
I'm-
was he sorely betrayed by those he thought were worthy companions. But in
Indeed.
time, he was able to extricate himself.
And forgive them.
And we gloss
Well, they
over
realised-
everything that happens in between.
Yes.
So I'm going to tie his wrists and ankles, so we can
Yeah.
slats in between to carry him.
Yes. Okay, yeah. We can do
I
the
don't
whole
think you're helping there,
roast.
Mech. I
Yeah.
don't think you're helping at all.
You know what? I vote we sleep one at a time.
We need to
And
keep a
Nicky
watch.
Ford.
Because you're in Undermountain and it's dangerous. No, because Lucian.
Lucian at this point is more dangerous than the rest of Undermountain.
Yes. Yes, it is. I'm stealing his sword if he does that.
I'm just
You can
trying to
have it
think of
back in the
I'm
morning.
just trying to think of a good way to somehow have Lucian be granted a title by one of the barbarian clans, because I really want them to get to grant him the barbarian name, the Sky with Diamonds.
Oh, brilliant. Riding a gem
Nice.
dragon?
That would do it.
Yeah.
But I've got to give him a gem dragon for that. I don't know that I want to do
Hey,
that.
just give him access to a gem dragon, not the same thing. Okay. Oh god. This is insane. This is batshit barking bonkers. God, I love Second Ed. Right.
Is something wrong?
But nothing that's happened here has been specifically second ed. I could have done this just as
No.
easily in third, but there is
Yeah.
something about... I think it is just the fact that we are harking back to the days when we used to play second ed a lot, and it's just like reminding us of the play style of then, and we're kind of
Yes,
doing it a bit
the
more.
good old days.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Oh
So
god.
yeah, you
right,
have got
so, yeah.
a bound Lucian who will
Get him down the stairs.
deparalyze in about half an hour.
Okay, let's get him out of here. Let's get the
let's
hell out
go
of here.
down the stairs.
Yep.
I'm
I'm going-
assuming
I'm-
I will be one of the ones carrying our
Okay.
stricken comrade.
As you start
I
heading down
will.
the stairs,
The
you
other end.
hear from the bottom the sound of movement. It's quite recognizable sound. It is the sound of men shuffling their feet and aiming crossbows. It's got
We
that
come in peace.
everybody's pointing a bow your way kind of noise.
I have no weapons in my. I have everything sheathed, and I'm
Yeah.
coming down first.
Yes.
Hey, everyone
The-
downstairs, I can hear you moving. If we were going to fight you, the guys up here would have already made the noise.
Yep.
We're just trying to carry a somewhat incapacitated guy down.
Yeah.
Give us a break.
We're leaving. You asked us to leave, we're going.
I didn't ask you to leave. I said you could leave if you persuaded me that I could trust you to leave.
I've
We've
just
taken
knocked
out
out
one of our own.
a
How much
cavalier.
trust you want?
Well, that's definitely a step in the right direction. Where are you planning on going?
Not
way we
back
were.
to the beach. We've got more explorations to do.
The
So,
way I see it, we've got to scout this area for the party that's behind us.
Yep.
We didn't see you. We're scouting on ahead. You guys do what you've got to do. When we come back, your job's done.
right, well, in that case, I will task some of my men to follow you a small distance north and be sure that you go where you say you're going.
Works for me.
They won't interfere with you if you don't turn back.
Remember, you're giving the men at arms a chance to escape.
I remember. Can you all, including Lucian, although in Lucian's case I'm going to give him a penalty, make me an intelligence roll? Lucian, you will be at -4, so you're looking at 10 or less, if I remember your intelligence rightly.
But we've got to roll under our intelligence, right?
Equal to or less than.
Yep. Made it.
That's
God, sorry,
make
got a
it-
lot of dice rolling.
D20.
D20,
yeah, yeah.
I rolled
Made
a
it
4,
by
so
9.
I'm pretty smart.
What do I need to roll under?
You're
Oh, yeah,
Your
sorry,
intelligence.
you don't know your intelligence. It is
Yes,
actually
I
on
don't
your...
have my character
it is
sheet.
actually on your character sheet in Roll20, but since that character sheet's a bit confusing, I don't think you found it
The
yet.
thing is, I can't.
Your
I can't
intelligence
access
is
my-
13, so you
The
need
thing
13
is,
or
I
less.
tried accessing my sheet, and it's not letting me anymore.
That's strange.
So I
Yeah.
can click my name, but nothing's happening.
Oh, okay.
I rolled a 4.
I'd rolled a 5.
I rolled a 4, so I made it by 9.
Okay, right, so everybody who makes it, which basically is everybody, you notice in the corner of... Let me just jump to Roll20, and I will do a shift ping. In the corner of the dining room, as you're coming down and through it, in this far corner here, the top left, behind a couple of the crossbowmen, there is a figure in a fine quality dark green hooded cloak who appears to be going out of his way to remain unidentified. The cloak is pulled quite tight around him. The hood is up despite being inside underground. And he's slouching so you can't see his face. Even with infravision you can't see in there because he's just keeping himself too well hidden.
That's
Oh.
somebody you're going to have to kill later. But never mind.
No, it's not.
Huh?
No, we're not going to have to kill them later. We don't know who they are. They know who we are. We know what they want to do. They've probably arranged the gig for these guys to take out the guy they're taking out. They don't want any attention drawn to it. We don't know who they are. Job's fine.
Yeah. A discussion for another day anyway.
Absolutely.
That was my phone.
I
did wonder.
A bard one just passed.
Random bard table had clearly been rolled on.
I've heard of a random bards table. I may have to create one.
All bards are pretty random.
That's true.
Yep, you beat me to it, dear. Right. In
Okay,
that
so
case, north, I
North.
guess.
2
Mine just wanna be
swordsmen
left behind.
and 3 crossbowmen are assigned to follow you. They hang back about 20 feet behind you as you head off to the north. They're not looking particularly threatening. They've got, the swordsmen don't have their swords out. The crossbowmen, you can see, by the way, have short swords in addition to the crossbows. Their crossbows are ready to go. You know, they're loaded, they're cocked, but they're not actually being pointed at you. They're just held ready so that they don't need to muck about a lot if you suddenly decide that the moment you're around the corner and out of sight, you turn and attack them. Whether you do turn and attack them the moment you're round the corner and out of sight, we will find out next time we play, which hopefully will be next week. 2 reasons
Okay.
for stopping now.